Chapter 81. Her memories were buried in very small things. The corridors she held her hand in tightly to avoid getting lost. The flowers they grew together in the garden. The fairy tale book she read to her before she slept. The stray cat she pestered and nagged for her to adopt. Looking back, Sylvia only had 8 years of memories. That was the only time she spent with her mother, after all. Human memories piled up like grains of sand, the oldest of them sinking at the bottom as countless more piled up on top. Throughout that process, their weight grew heavier as time flowed. Some were buried under that weight, but some remained at the top like fragments incapable of being brought down. Those were the ones that stabbed one's soul sharply. That was the type of memory Sylvia had. They could never be buried in the sand or swept away, and time never healed them or made them fade. Since her mother passed away, her heart ceased to change. However, at some point, Sylvia felt a new existence standing on her sand. He protected her from Rockhark at Berkt and from the Baron of Ashes. Perhaps he shared the same sadness as her. He grew like a stalk in her mind in a barren and desolate land. Before Sylvia went to sleep, whenever she shivered from the cold, and the loneliness within her suffocated her, she thought of him. She knew what that meant. It was so clear that she could no longer deny it. But perhaps that was why it was even more painful. She slowly opened her eyes. The white ceiling and the flickering of lights immediately came into view. She felt dizzy. Sylvia remained immobile for quite a long time. SHRRRKK? The sound of a page being turned softly echoed in the room, causing her to move her eyes vacantly towards its source, finding Professor de Killeen sitting on a chair next to her. Almost as if he felt her gaze on him, he spoke while reading a book. "The test is over." His blue eyes met hers. They sparkled like crystals, but they were as cold as ice. "All your other grades for the semester are perfect, so you should at least earn an A." The final exam made up 35% of the student's grade evaluation, but Sylvia got perfect scores for the remaining 65%. The difference between her and Eferen before the final exam was 20 points. Even if she scored 0 in the finals, she would only step down from first place, but would remain among the highest ranks. "Professor, with your grade, you'd be able to go up to the Isle of Wizards' Wealth." De Killeen repeated what he said before as Sylvia looked at him, her lips shaking, cold-hearted. Sylvia didn't even know that word until now. She had never spoken it. Now she felt it with her whole body. Thump. He closed his book and got up from his seat. As he was about to leave, she hastily grabbed him. "My father said the reason why I shouldn't be under your command." Holding the skirt of her blanket, she continued, "is that the Iliades and the Euclines bear a grudge against each other. They're old foes who kill and get killed by each other's hands. Is it because of that?" Although de Killeen's eyes were as indifferent as always, Sylvia didn't avoid them. She felt like she was stabbed in the chest with an ice pick, but she could bear it because of him. "Sylvia." "Yes." "I never once thought of you as an Iliade." Sylvia's heart trembled softly. With her expectations rising, she asked for clarification. "Then what do you think of me, Sylvia?" "Yes," she answered his call. "Sylvia." "Yes, Sylvia." "Yes." De Killeen tilted his head at the odd repetition. Soon, however, he realized his error and changed his words accordingly. "The most prominent Archmage candidate, the new wizard of the year, the miracle of the magic world, the talent that could reach absolute authority, and a child of Iliade." De Killeen recited her titles one by one. Those compliments for her would have made him tremendously jealous if he was still the old De Killeen. There's a lot of phrases out there referring to you, but... As De Killeen, he didn't know how she felt towards him right now, but he couldn't care less about it either. That allowed him to remain indifferent. "To me, you are just Sylvia." However, he had something to say as Kim Woojin. "You are under my protection and guidance." He looked at his hand clad in a leather glove. It symbolized his closed heart, which remained locked even when touching someone. "You're my student." She was still young, but that only meant her mind, body, and even her skill as a wizard could still grow further. "My role is to guide you to the right path." She found his words both cold and warm as always. Regardless, whenever she heard them, sprouts grew beautifully in her. That was why she didn't want to lose him. Rather, she wanted to keep him in her heart. Hence, she spoke. My father said that you and your family fought against my mother, Professor. She was expecting him to tell her it was all false. That's a lie, right? It can't be true. But no matter how long she waited, Professor. No answer came from him. Drip, drip. Her hospital room grew so quiet only the raindrops outside could be heard. The frustration in her heart felt like it was about to make her heart stop. What my father said was a lie. Sylvia forced herself to smile. It's a lie. She repeated what he was supposed to say. A lie. Unfamiliar emotions filled her soul as she looked out the window. It was raining hard, but she could still see de Killian's reflection on the window pane. His expression remained indifferent, cold. Without looking back at him directly, she spoke. Get out. Asterisk, asterisk, as the heavy downpour fell outside, I walked down a dark hallway, a flash of light blazing momentarily in the pitch-black sky before I could reach the end of it. When lightning struck on the other side of the darkness, an individual hidden in the shadows appeared, Professor de Killian. Underneath his clean, middle-aged appearance, beautiful blonde hair and wine-colored eyes, he was a named madman, Glython. I heard my daughter collapse due to overwork during the exam. There was no concern in his voice. Was it your fault or my daughter's? His question raised an unknown contempt within me, an emotion both de Killian and Kim Woojin felt and shared. What did you tell Sylvia? Glython's eyes sharpened, his bloodthirsty pupils glaring at me. However, they soon curved and narrowed, almost as if he was smiling with them. Do you, by any chance, remember that day, 8 years ago? The day the Iliades and Euclines went to war. My memories of de Killian's past were still limited. Our families held a grudge against each other, obviously, but I hadn't found out a way to know the more detailed story behind it. In the first place, de Killian and Sylvia originally loathed each other. You killed Sierra as she was about to leave that day. Sierra, Sylvia's mother. I didn't know what Glython meant by that day. However, his words, seemingly serving as a fuse, reminded me of a scene. The sound of the rain overlapped with Glython's face. 8 years ago, under a rain close to a storm, the Iliade family head said something to de Killian that made him look at his hand, finding his glove soaked in blood. I can't let you ruin Sylvia as well. Incomplete memory penetrated my head, but I quickly grasped it all. My ego couldn't be shaken by something like this. I passed by him, ignoring his provocations. Are you running this time as well, de Killian? I abruptly stopped walking. As heat began to rise in my body, I turned around and approached him. Glython, you've always been like that. Acting aloof and looking down on everyone in the world, but you're actually more scared than anyone. Glython? That outcry of mine stemmed from wrath I didn't even know existed. I could feel a ball of fire growing in my chest. My roar echoed in the hallway, causing his eyes to widen in surprise, seemingly finding my actions unexpected. I approached the bastard and looked down on him, his eyes falling on my chin. I can clearly see through you. Through me? Sylvia is not your doll. Glython was a wizard crazy about his ambitions. To gain the position of Archmage, he prepared different means and methods, and his daughter was only a part of it. Did you just say you won't let Sylvia get ruined? I rattled and pushed his chest with my finger. He tried to resist, but he couldn't do anything but take a step back due to my strength provided by Iron Man. That's my line, Glython. What? The ghost of a fucking family. Glython's face grew cold. A sneer left my fangs. I won't let you ruin Sylvia. This was, perhaps, a residue of anger derived from de Killian's personality. Sylvia didn't even matter. That child was merely an excuse right now, or perhaps a pretext. But I, on the other hand, genuinely loathed Glython. You're the one who killed Sierra, de Killian. Glython sent me a similar feeling. No, his hatred for me was perfectly identical. He looked at me with his far-off eyes. You used to tremble in the past. You've grown a lot. And you've gotten smaller, Glython. At that time, lightning struck once more, illuminating the world and, more importantly, allowing me to see someone's reflection in the hallway window. Hiding behind a wall outside Glython's vision, Sylvia stood. Trembling and hiding in the darkness, she completely hid her presence after the third thunderbolt roared. On a fresh summer 3 p.m. afternoon, the sun had begun to set between the beautiful trees surrounding the Empire's Rome Lot Square, which was filled with vigor and delight due to the ongoing festival that wrapped up the first half of the year. University students who had just finished their final exams, workers on vacation, farmers who had finished their tasks, tourists, etc. All kinds of people gathered in that place to enjoy the games and amenities it had to offer. Wow. Eferen stood in the middle of it all with a slightly hazy face. For someone who lived in the countryside all their lives like her, the scenery before her seemed like it came straight out of a fantasy book. Everything looks delicious. Iffy? A shout returned her to her senses. Looking behind her, she found the Commoners Club members, Julia, Ferret, and Rondo. Julia tilde Ferret tilde Rondo tilde. Though she smiled, her expression soon darkened when she remembered an agreement. As expected, she's not coming. Huh, who are you waiting for? No, it's nothing. Her letter inviting Sylvia to join them was delivered to Miss Lead at the mansion, but it seemed she didn't intend to join them. Be our guide, Julia. Okay, tilde, there's going to be a lot of fun things to do today. Is your wallet thick and ready, Iffy? It's enough. They walked all over the lively and delightful square. They laughed, chattered, and enjoyed what the festival had to offer as best as they could. Oh. Somewhere along their stroll, Eferen found a potato croquette stand on the side of the road, 3 elnies. She bought one right away and took a big bite of it. It was crispy but moist on the inside. Oh. This is so good, tilde, wait, what's that? She then found dumplings, 2 elnies, swiftly purchasing one and devouring it, the flavor of its meat spread throughout her mouth. Oh, this is so good, 2 tilde, huh, is that? A waffle stand, 2 elnies. She immediately bought one and bit off a good chunk of it, savoring the strawberry whipped cream on it. This is sweet in the most delicious way possible, huh? That jerk, it appeared as soon as I felt thirsty, plum drinks, 2 elnies. She gulped it down as soon as she paid for it. Watching her in amazement, Julia asked her a question. Iffy, why are you buying so many? Huh, Eferen found herself in a predicament. She already had her hands full with food, but there was still a lot of other food left to try. After careful deliberation, she handed what she already bought to the members of the Commoners Club one by one. Ah, tilde, I was going to share them with you guys. Let's eat them together. Have one of each of the croquettes and the dumplings. Julia and the other members bitterly smiled when she handed them the food. I, Roherk, promise? A desperate cry broke through the noise of the square as they ate. Satiating her curiosity, Eferen, along with everyone else, checked out the commotion, under the bright sky and on the defiled ground. On the arch of the Briondal Independence Gate stood a man wearing a black velvet robe and a book bound by a chain across his shoulders. Eferen tilted her head. Who's that guy? I don't know. It looks like he's acting. The club members didn't put any significance into it. There was always an event like this at almost every festival. I pledged to the god Luan. Luan. His lines were strange, however. God Luan. The imperial religion believed in the god Ranyan. Who's Luan? Eferen popped a dumpling into her mouth. Julia shrugged. I'm not sure about this, but isn't that the god the demon-blooded believe in? Are you talking about that clan? Divine punishment to the apostles. Before Eferen could finish her sentence, she heard a noise so loud it could almost be considered environmental pollution. What was even more surprising was the huge explosion that followed it. Boom! Its shockwave caused tremors across heaven and earth as it spread through all directions, but it didn't stop there. The detonations continued. Ah, Hraarg! Mass chaos and destruction ensued. The buildings caught in the blasts collapsed, causing debris to scatter and fall as they crumbled down to ruins. The lively festival had turned into a fear-filled, casualty-prone situation. Iffy. At Julia's cry, Eferen immediately created the largest barrier she could make to protect as many civilians as she could, but she soon noticed something strange. There was no impact on the force field she made. Moreover, the whole area had grown silent. She couldn't even hear any terrified, ripping screams anymore. What? Looking at the battlefront, Eferen grew speechless for a moment as her eyes widened in confusion. The whole square stopped. The fierce smoke, The crumbling buildings, the explosions rushing like a wave, all of it had stopped, almost as if they were stuck in the air. Even the falling debris paused right before they could crush a child's head or squash an adult's body. It was as if time itself had stopped. Not a single projectile fell down. Even the people under the buildings waiting for their supposedly imminent death doubted the scenery they were looking at, which was so absurd everyone lost the thought of running away. Ephraim looked around her vicinity, which seemed both realistic and fantastical at the same time. Everyone in the square did the same, absent-mindedly admiring their dumbfounding reality as if they were dreaming. No one moved, and thanks to that, Ephraim could easily survey her surroundings. Ah. She finally found him. Amid this mysterious scene, only one man moved. He was dressed in a suit as always. All eyes fell on him as he walked, each of his steps filled with dominance. Even if they knew nothing about magic, their instincts were enough for them to know that the caster of this dream-like magic was, of course, Deucalion. It was as if time and space themselves had succumbed to his will and became his servants. "How dare you? This is an abomination." He stretched out his hand to the screaming terrorist, then seemingly vacuumed him towards his palm from the summit of the Independence Gate. Through psychokinesis, he targeted his opponent's chain wrapped around his robe. Deucalion looked into his eyes, finding no fear in them, no horror. As a human being, he showed no hesitation in front of certain death. "You," he. Grinning, he opened his robe, revealing a bomb attached to his waist. Deucalion just looked at it with contempt. Just before it exploded, his psychokinesis interfered with it first, tearing it to pieces from within. HMPH, garbage. "You, Deucalion, shut your dirty mouth." Quack, a throwing knife penetrated the man's neck. KRRGGG. At the moment of his death, however, he smiled and self-destructed. Dark magic flowed out from the hole in his neck like smoke, seemingly forming into a mass that was about to swallow Deucalion. But before it could, Knight Julie flooded it with sword strikes until it disintegrated. "Professor, it's a simultaneous terrorist attack." Deucalion nodded at Julie's words. The two seemed like they intended to reduce the casualties as much as possible. Coming back to her senses, Ephraim raised her hand and shouted, "Ah, I'll also help." Julie smiled proudly at her daring shout, but... Ah, thwack! As soon as she took a step forward, her ankle was caught on something. Urgh! Tumbling down, Ephraim looked up as she made a grumbling sound. Deucalion's fearsome eyes stared at her, but wrinkles were forming at their edges, which was unusual. "This isn't your place to step up, Ephraim. Go disappear comfortably." The type of attack the jerk had done was called a dark energy bomb. That was why the square was full of dark energy and why Deucalion didn't have room to deal with her. "Are you okay?" Julie helped her up. She, too, was a celebrity that even Ephraim knew well. "Oh, yes, thank you, Knight Julie. I'm a fan." "Don't think about it too much. The professor is restraining you because it's dangerous here. You're also a civilian in this square, hub." Deucalion put a gas mask on her face while she was explaining the situation to her. Julie hurriedly took it off and handed it to her. "Anyway, take this. Please evacuate, hub." Another gas mask flew in and stuck to her face. She took it off as well and gave it to Julia, who was next to Ephraim. Yes, I'll do that. We'll look after this square." "Yes, please do so, hub, please." Only when he put the third gas mask on her did she leave with Deucalion. Ephraim looked at the two as they walked away, noticing a piece of steel floating next to Deucalion. Wow. Julia's lips gaped in admiration. She was no different. Deucalion extinguished a terrorist attack like he was conducting an orchestra. The magic explosions, collapsing buildings, and soaring flames, all the different variables were controlled and contained at the movement of his hand. The deadly dark cloud halted in the sky, disallowing it from descending. The smashed buildings' debris were safely lowered onto the ground, and the intensity of the flames was quickly extinguished. "Was that the head professor of the Empire?" one of the mesmerized knights asked. They were dispatched a bit too late. Ephraim absent-mindedly admired him as well, but she was brought back to her senses when a large hand landed on her shoulder. "Oh ho, Deucalion has definitely developed, but I didn't know it was this much." The quality of his mana looks to have been upgraded at first glance, but just as you said, he's a genius of effort. The unidentified robed man smiled as he looked at her. After confirming his identity, her eyes widened in shock. Rohaka? SHH. Are you really going to shout out the worst name in the continent? Rohakan covered her mouth. As she nodded, she remembered her fault. TTH, the letter was delivered through mail, but maybe I should have delivered it myself. Oh, that mail is enough. I'm sorry. It's too far to deliver it myself. I also had a test and... I said it's fine. For now, follow me. Our top priority is to help prevent casualties. No, I have a lot of things to do. She looked at her friends for help, but all of them were busy admiring Deculene. Follow me. I also have something to give you. Rohakan disappeared somewhere with Epheren. Active. A terrorist attack chapter out of all days. Yikes. Chapter 82. Bound by Rohakan's large hand, Epheren stared blankly at the subsequent bombing, the fragmented buildings, and the horrors of the explosion's aftermath as they walked past them. Why? Don't ask why. It's crazy things done by crazy people. Rumble. Rohakan applied magic on a collapsing statue, seemingly trying to prevent its fall using psychokinesis, but it didn't work as efficiently as Deculene's. Oh my, I can't even do it as neat as he did. Smirking, he quickly cleansed the area with his own magic. Snap. At the snap of his fingers, the falling debris swiftly disintegrated into tiny fragments. The deflagrations were then extinguished, and the flames sublimated to the sky. What was that just now? I call it elementalization, melting the processed material into the most one-dimensional element. You probably won't find it in textbooks. Wow. Epheren closed her eyes in admiration, and when she opened them, she found herself already out of town. Where are we? Did we just teleport? They now stood on a hill. The square, which turned into a horrific crime scene while the festival was underway, was now at a faraway distance. A quiet hut was also near them. He smiled and took a deep breath. It's been a while since I've shown my magic in front of a young talent, he said, releasing more mana. In his hand was the fragment of the world tree, a staff she had seen before. Boom! Rohakan hit the ground with it, casting the grand magic flow of purification. The magical shockwaves it generated reached all the way to the hot spring area, cleaning up the excess mana in the square. I've done enough. I believe they can take care of the rest. Yes, then I'll go now. Using grand magic made me hungry. Don't you want to have some meat? I hunted one last night. Meat? She asked suspiciously, **chomp. Piece by piece, Epheren devoured the meat in her hands, finding each bite delicious. It wasn't as luxurious as a rohawk, but she thought it wouldn't be bad to try something new. This is amazing. It's enough to satisfy my picky palate. I know you can eat all kinds of things. Even as he answered, Rohakan ceaselessly busied himself with his own matters, frantically moving from place to place in his narrow hut. What do you mean? I can't do that. Where did your friend go, though, the one with you before? Oh, she's not feeling well, so she's resting. Epheren smiled bitterly. Sylvia overworked herself during the final exams, causing her exhaustion to finally take its toll on her. From what she heard, she didn't sleep or eat at all throughout the finals. Have you been living here all this time? How come you haven't been caught yet? Well, this hut is far from ordinary. I wouldn't be able to keep my freedom in my possession during the past decades otherwise. Think of it as a ship. A ship? Yeah, you guys also call it the 9th series or specialized magic. I think they define it as a wizard's signature that combines all of their disposition, personality, and talent. Signature magic. The ultimate achievement that all wizards desired. Epheren only blinked, albeit she moved her mouth as well to chew on the meat. Here, look. Rohakan closed the hut's door, then pulled a lever installed near the fireplace in a way that made it look like a decoration. Boom! She flinched when she felt her surroundings vibrate, but she didn't stop eating her food. Chuckling, he opened the door again. Huh. As she looked past the doorway, her jaw dropped open. Before her widened eyes were a desert, its sand stretching to the horizon and mixing with the scorching wind. Her lips dried up after just 10 seconds of staring at the scenery. Softly, he asked, "What do you think? It's uncanny, right?" This. Ephraim grabbed him by the collar. T, take me back. Ha ha ha. D, don't laugh. Hurry up, you kidnapper. Bump, bong, bong. She clumsily shook the large criminal's body. Do it. Ha 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 ha. Take me back. Don't worry, I will. You might get scolded by Dekiline if I don't. What? Why would he do that? Weren't the two of you Dekiline's disciples? She frowned. Nonsense. More importantly, where the hell are we? We're at the Kahul Desert in the eastern part of the continent. Despite this place's absurd climate, there are several demon-blooded people's villages here. You mean the instigators of today's terrorism? He let out a bitter smile. Without answering her question, he continued. Their annihilation will soon begin, and so will the intensification of the oppression over the minorities. That tormenting gale will be far stronger than the desert wind that you feel now. What do you think of that? Why are you asking me that? I'm a wizard, not a politician. I need someone who will succeed me soon. Succeed you? Rohakan's slanted gaze reached Ephraim, his eyes seemingly overflowing with sorrow. Yes, when you reach a certain level as a wizard, you are powerful enough to learn of your own death. That being said, I don't have much time left in this world. Then you should tell Professor Dekiline to do it. Do you think that man will listen to me? Recalling the head professor's unique ego, Ephraim nodded, haughty, arrogant, noble, and possessed by self-righteous dignity. Well, to be fair, he listens to no one. Even if God tells him to do it, I don't think he will if he doesn't want to. No, I'm certain he won't. Ha ha ha, you're right. Rohakan laughed as he closed the door, then picked up a magic pouch in the corner of the room with psychokinesis. Now, in this pouch are elixirs, a magic training book I wrote, and many others that I'm certain will help you. So, she already seemed to have set her own expectations. I'll give this to you and your friend. What? Why, that's suspicious. Her doubt was just for formality. Ephraim's eyes were already fixed on the magic pouch. He chuckled. There will come a point in your career as a wizard where you'll start finding it easy to decipher other people. Of course, it only works for simple people like you. I will never understand those as complex and reserved as Dekiline. What? Sylvia is far from simple? No. That one is probably simpler than you. Anyway, will you take it? His words made her ponder. A black beast and known as the world's worst criminal, Rohakan seemed to be a good old man. Half belongs to you and half belongs to your friend. I even wrote your name tag. Deeply thinking about it, she glanced at him as she grabbed the pouch. Okay. Good. Now that you've taken it, I'll leave Dekiline to you. I'll come back later and ask you a favor. I don't know what favor you'll be asking, but why are you entrusting Dekiline to us? Well, Tilda, you probably don't know yet, but I can see a little bit of the future. At most, 2 weeks or a month is my limit. He smiled nonchalantly. Bullshit. I mean, you're lying. How can you see the future? But his words were more than enough to astonish Ephraim. You don't have to be surprised. It serves as proof of a short life. The closer a wizard is to their end, the more they learn of the truth. Creak. Rohakan pulled the lever again. The desert landscape had disappeared. I have now 2 or 3 years left in me at most. Even if I fall, many wizards in this world will have key roles, and whether you like it or not, Dekiline, that bastard, will be one of them. That's funny. Right, but bear this in mind. He could be both a pillar of growth or the beginning of ruin. Both are huge problems for me. What kind of future did you see? Can't you come back after seeing it in more detail again? Ha ha ha. I also want to, but it's not something I can just look at as I please. He opened the door to the hut again, revealing a familiar square. The flow of time seemed strange. The sky was already dark, and the surroundings had grown quiet, seemingly signifying that the terrorist attack incident had been cleared up. Ephraim looked up blankly at Rohakan. You look like a real wizard. I get that a lot. I see Demakin the same way you see me, Archmage Demakin. With Rohakan being this powerful already, how much more could he be? He looked at the moon in the sky for a moment, then looked at Rohakan again. No, she looked where Rohakan previously was, only to find that he and his hut had already disappeared. Ephraim. Not long after, a cold voice called her name, startling her. It was all too familiar, but that was exactly why it terrified her. Professor? Dekiline's fierce eyes were staring down at her. You met Rohakan. His words made her heart pound so hard that she thought it would explode. And no. What did he say? Her mouth felt dry, and her anxiety was shooting through her threshold. It was as if dark pressure was squeezing her body. Eferen. He called her name once more. Answer me. It's a secret. Closing her eyes as she shouted, she resisted his intimidation. The punishment she was waiting for didn't come. However, the magic pouch she held slowly moved to Dekilline's hand. You, please give it back. She grew restless like a dog that had lost its treat as he looked into it calmly. Gulp. He will take it from me. He will confiscate everything. Take it? Huh. When her heart was about to shatter, he returned the pouch to her. The atmosphere around him was still dark and overbearing, but he neither reprimanded her nor confiscated it. You disappeared without a word. Yes, I was looking for you. Of course, his face and voice were still cold, but his words told her he was worried. Eferen, who wasn't used to it, noticed a potion in his hand that had the name tag Dekilline attached to it. Rohakon, that old man, deliberately dropped her off near Dekilline. Go to the police station. Your friends are waiting for you. Eferen stared blankly at his back as he walked away. Sylvia slept for so long in her room she felt like a hibernating bear. With her were her familiar and the tack. However, for quite some time now, she kept hearing strange noises coming from her window. It was 4:30 in the morning. Tack, she tried to ignore it, but she eventually grew annoyed with it as it persisted. What fearless bastard dares? Tack, Sylvia impatiently pulled up the curtains, finding Eferen about to throw a small pebble. The intruder smiled brightly. Stupid Eferen. She drew the curtains again. Likewise, Eferen resumed throwing stones at the window. Tack. I'm only going to hold out 3 more times. If you keep doing it, I'll hit you. Sylvia narrowed her eyes, but the noise soon stopped, almost as if she read her mind. No, on the contrary, knock. It simply turned into a knock. The moment she sighed, her door swung open, revealing Eferen as expected. Who told you to come in? Who let you in? Who let you open the door? Oh, sorry, Miss Leet. Get out. Wait, just look at this. You'll change your mind after you see this. Eferen pulled out a rare-looking book from her pouch, causing Sylvia's eyes to light up momentarily. I met Rohakon, that old man. He gave this to us as a gift. Look, here's your name tag, Sylvia. As a document collection enthusiast, she couldn't reject Eferen's offer, who sat next to her. What are you going to do now? She asked, curious about her career path. She stared at her intently, but soon answered in a low voice. I'll head to the Isle of Wizards' Wealth. The floating island. I'll become a high-ranking wizard even greater than that Professor Dekilline. Sylvia couldn't yet understand her own feelings. The scenes she witnessed that day came as a huge shock to her, causing her mind to become intricately entwined like a tangled thread. And I don't know what I'll do next yet. Eferen nodded. Dekilline went from professor to that professor, but she wasn't idiotic enough to ask why. Hey, is this a radio? Interesting. This is my first time seeing one. She looked at the radio on the bedside drawer. Glancing at it, Sylvia turned it on. The imperial family imposed an emergency martial law in the empire, and key factors, including a magic professor at the Imperial University and a knight commander, were convened. Wow, an actual voice is coming from it. Listening to the news, Eferen remembered Rohakon's words. Where and how would the gale that old man talked about come? In particular, head Professor Dekilline, criticized by the magic world as well as the political and business community for defending the demon-blooded in Berkt, is getting attention. Sylvia turned off the radio. Eferen, about to ask why she did that, stopped herself when she noticed she was about to cry. If you want to listen to it, go out and do it alone. Okay. She went to the living room with the radio. The mansion was dark. Putting it on the desk near a shofar, she fiddled around with it. How did she turn it on again? However, no matter how hard she tried, no sound came out. Speak, she ordered, no response. Why won't you talk? After waiting for quite some time, Eferen frowned. Are you rebelling? She crossed her arms, her tone sounding a little more serious this time. Speak like you just did. Speak now. Are you putting up a resistance? Aha, is it because you don't recognize me as your owner? Sylvia said I could listen to you too, you know. She gave me her permission, so talk to me already. Speak. I told you to speak. Speak. She quarreled against the first radio she had ever seen, which proved to be rebellious, until Leet arrived. ***. Simultaneous dark energy bombings occurred during the All Nations Grand Festival of the Empire. A total of 18 places were targeted, including the square where the festival was in full swing. The dispatched wizards and knights, including head Professor Dequillin, suppressed it as fast as they could. But there were still several victims, including 3,000 deaths and 10,000 injured. One of the groups that perpetrated this terrorist attack was identified as the Demon Blood. Opposing the discrimination against the demon-blooded prevalent on the continent and despising the Orthodox Church, they plot acts of terrorism to destroy their opponents. Both those in provincial and central areas have made many appeals to suppress those of demon blood. Half a year ago, Rockhark, the murderer of countless wizards, was revealed to be of demon blood. The Riak kingdom, known for its sorcery, declared him an enemy of the race. What do you guys think? More than half of the instigators of the recent act of terrorism were demon-blooded. That's what's causing this huge uproar right now. Emperor Sophian asked, smiling. There wasn't much I could answer with. The event Arlo spoke of, the Gale of the Altar, would be using an entire race. How did they deduce they're non-human? Those bastards from the Baton family developed a method. May I ask what that is? They ripped their heart out and discovered that it was clearly different from that of a human's. They weren't called demon-blooded for no reason. It was quite an ignorant procedure. I momentarily grew speechless in an attempt to think of a solution, but soon realized there was no way out. Eucline, I will not be able to reject this public opinion. The suppression of their kind was a huge event. The premise of the main quest's first half itself could even be called demon blood repression. Regardless of center and province, their appeal is strong. I have to act according to the will of my servants and my people. I wanted to delay it as much as possible, but this era would eventually suppress those of demon blood. We'll begin by taking their most known territories and confiscating their properties. The demon-blooded were broadly divided into two categories, those mixed with the continent and those not. The former's appearance and behavior weren't much different from the imperial peoples, but could be distinguished by their religion and eating habits. The latter spoke in a notably unique dialect, and had villages and regions exclusive to them on the edge of the empire. The people's wrath against them has grown so much. The world of magic and the merchants are glaring at them, saying it's an opportunity to earn money. From what I heard, there are many of their kind that live among the rich. The trigger had already been pulled, firing a bullet known as imperial terrorism and causing casualties upwards of 10,000. A clan has carried out a terrorist attack that will harm their own clan, I said as I looked at Sophian, who smiled happily. Looking closely, it was a strange development. Why wouldn't the person who committed the terrorist attack for his clan's sake think about how his actions could harm the very existence he was trying to protect? It was weird, of course, but it didn't really matter. This terrorism was just a pretext. Just like giving a death row prisoner to a man who wanted to dance with a sword. He just gave the people of the Empire who desperately wanted to suppress the demon blood the perfect reason and cause to do so. This was why it was a gale. Even I had no choice but to be swept away by it. Auto-insert bot active translations. Please ignore this. Sorry for the interruption from now on, regardless of Eucline, Iliade, Ballard, Baton. The time to enter the main quest in earnest had come. Demon blood suppression would be the right thing to do, and the demon blood advocacy would turn into a mistake. Take it. Sophian handed me an identification card while I was deep in thought. You'll be called Lestal. It means tiger in rune language. Achievement reward. Emperor's Guard Store currency +1, mana +50, 1 item catalog. It's the separate guard unit I founded. Since you volunteered to be my teacher, I assigned it the grade of R to maintain your dignity. Is that so? I'm looking forward to seeing you show off your power as a Eucline. That being said, do you still intend to defend the demon blood? I looked at Sophian. I still didn't know Sophian's intentions. However, if I insisted on defending the demon blood, even in this situation, My end would be an isolated death followed by my whole territory being dyed with blood. We'll build a concentration camp. A concentration camp? Yes. It'll be less provocative than annihilation, and it'll also win popular support. Where are you going to build it? The Eucline estate is vast. There's an area called Rohalak among our lands. Isn't that an area close to extinction? Sofian's eyes widened. Rohalak was widely known as a high-risk area where demons appeared dozens of times a day. In fact, to some extent, that was true. I thought you liked the demon blood, Deculine. Your idea itself isn't bad, but Rohalak, are you going to condemn them all to hell? I don't like them. I just thought there was no reason to hate them. Did this terrorist attack give you a reason to hate them? Stroking her chin, she shrugged. Are you sure you want to build such a hate facility on your estate? I know your majesty will provide me with rewards that would compensate for it. Oh, a tail rose from Sofian's back as she smiled. I looked closer, thinking my eyes were just deceiving me, but she had turned into that red-furred munchkin. All right. I'll give you a decent reward according to the number of demon blood you capture. The central government will also support the cost of building the camp. Thank you. I will need to set an example anyway. An example? Yes. I recalled the memories in my head. The demon blood had evil members in their ranks as well. They weren't evil because of their clan, but because their nature dictated them to be villains. If I didn't subdue and slay them, they would prove harmful to the main quest and their clan itself in the future. I'll repress and execute dozens of them. Now that the tower is also on vacation, giving me free time, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go find them myself. The Emperor didn't reply to my answer. They're said to be a member of the demon clan from ancient times. Reading the servant's appeal condemning the demon blood, I raised my head as her silence prolonged, finding the Emperor looking at me with a surprised expression. Deculine, the price for betraying your faith is too cruel. Her voice sounded unexpectedly startled. Is that so? I didn't tell a single lie. I would execute the criminals who were of demon blood, and I would build a concentration camp in Rohalak, which would no longer be as dangerous as it was rumored to be. Moreover, I didn't know how a concentration camp would be accepted in this world. It would be entirely up to me to decide what to do in it. Yes, you were the only one who defended them, but you changed instantly. Ha 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 ha. My words seemed to have put Sofian in a good mood. Well, she never did think positively of the demon blood, even in the game. I just decided I should also study hard. I must not betray your faith. I know you'll give up in 5 minutes. Sofian's lips twisted upward. You dare say that to me? You're too cheeky. All right, fine. I can do this. I'll make sure to progress more than 1 page today. This is too annoying. Get out of here. Her 2 sentences almost overlapped. She probably only lasted 3 minutes before she threw away my textbook, a clear sign that she had grown tired of memorizing a few runes. Rune language was a power that required mana and mental power, but, Your Majesty. 5 minutes? Tui. My mouth is already sore from dealing with these damn runes. Scram. I'm sleepy. I'll go to sleep. Sofian lay on her bed and turned her back, leaving me no choice but to go outside. Chapter 83. Under the blazing sun of the Kahul Desert, some people lived only on camels and tents. Originally a native of the eastern part of the continent, the poor demon blood clan got entangled in foreign rites, were banished, and since then became the living evidence of discrimination and oppression. Whoosh, as sandstorms pounded on their tents amid the darkness, their leader's anguish coursed through the clan's future. This is troublesome, Chief. It's finally begun. Captain Zubikran stared at the dark tornado in the desert, finding it no different from hatred. It whirled around like a never-ending cycle of grudge breeding resentment, and resentment breeding hatred. That cycle would only end with the destruction of either side or the proliferation of harmony and unity. In an era when the latter was reduced to a mere mirage, he watched the altar's movements, knowing full well that the demon blood and the altar's religion were the same at a glance. There are rumors that Professor Deculine is building a concentration camp in Rohalak. Disappointed by his passive attitude, the demon blood radicals joined the altar, which seemed to have similar religious doctrines and in the end committed horrific misdeeds. The groups will be taken there. Zubikran nodded, to Killeen. The Eucline successor defending the demon blood at Berkt confused him. Nevertheless, he was grateful. I see. He bought us time in Berkt, but since this attack was our clan's doing, he must have thought we betrayed his good graces. He remembered the former Eucline family head and de Killeen's father, de Calain. He was a hunter of wealth and had no mercy, a pitiful man who couldn't even develop feelings to love someone. Though more Eucline than anyone else in their family, he was never bound by the yoke of it. That was why Zubikran was afraid of him. The cost of betraying them has always been excruciating. Yes, I know, fear the demon, fear the demon. That was the Eucline's dictum. It made people aware of the demon's existence, and at the same time, revealed the tradition and power of their family. Having been hunting demons since ancient times, the Eucline resembled their targets the most. That was why the demon their enemies should fear wasn't only the devil itself, but also the Eucline who would become a demon to them. A gale will soon come, rendering all words we utter into excuses. Even peaceful rallies will be difficult to execute. The demon blood clan was spread out in groups across a low-lying area, some of them having decently sized populations. We won't be able to control all the new and bloodthirsty groups. If we press them hard, they might leave and cause incidents like the terrorist attack. That's true. Don't let the cradle of trees handle it. Alessal and Caraxel will be able to lead well. He then looked at the distant whirlwind gradually growing larger as it absorbed the sand and mana of the desert. Beyond it, he could see the faces of his long-lost friends. The sweeping and howling air currents seemed to act as their screams, the grains of sand their blood. He felt as if they were calling out to him. I haven't been thinking properly until now, but what can I do? The answers I seek aren't in this world. Captain Zubikran sank into the darkness amid the sandstorm. Haid Kane 3 days later. What nonsense is that? Uriel yelled at the family head, who visited after so long. Why would you build a concentration camp on our estate? Answer me, sir. Though Uriel usually sat on the Lord's seat, de Killeen took to it silently for the first time in a while. I hate the demon blood as well, but a concentration camp, that's a hate facility, sir. Stop adding, sir. After a few moments of waiting for her to subside, she finally gasped and sighed. Only then did he get to the point. It's far from the private mansion. Where are you going to build it, sir? Are you rebelling? What, sir? I won't ask you again. I'm not, sir, she chuckled in disdain, to which he responded by shaking his head. The camp will be in Rohalak. Are you kidding me? Her expression hardened. The Eucline County was large enough to match the Principality of Urin, a country. Still, only half of that was available land because a part of Marek, the land of magic mines, was within their territory. Considering that place was accompanied by a multitude of obligations, it was more accurate to say it fell under their jurisdiction rather than their ownership. We mustn't let corrupted beasts into the civilian world. It doesn't matter if they're demon blood. They are human. Rohalak was the worst area close to extinction. It was a hell comparable to Rekordak, the northernmost prison of Freyden County. People live there. I'm not here to discuss it with you, Uriel. His glare pierced through her like a blade, causing her to stagger back. She had been out of de Killeen's shadow for quite a while now, but she still couldn't stop herself from feeling scared every time this happened. Okay, the demon blood aside, what benefits would this bring us? Nothing. That area will only be nicknamed the territory where the camp was built. The imperial family will soon pass all the benefits to you. He got up from the Lord's seat and exited the room. Uriel then hurriedly ran and sat in the empty seat, which normally served as her chair. I'm going. Just know that I'll assign the raw materials needed for the foundation construction. I don't care. It was something he did on his own without any consultation. There was no way he would change his mind even if she insisted. Uriel glanced at de Killeen. Creak, he opened the door to the Lord's office, finding his companions, imperial knights and imperial officials gathered before him and greeting him with a smile. They seemed excited about the demon blood suppression. As expected from Professor Dekilline. Oh, I should call you Count Eucline here. With the Count who overpowered Rohakan and resolved the imperial terrorism in an instant, we would go to even the end of the universe. Creak. The loud flattery subsided as soon as he closed the door behind him. Sigh. Now alone in silence, Uriel muttered, Rohalak, Rohalak. Even she had never thought of shoving people into that place. Of course, his intentions were vaguely understandable. The truth was also undeniable. The support would come from the imperial family, and the demon blood concentration camp would be useful as a human wall like Rekordak. It would become a fortress that would prevent the beasts from coming. If they built the camp in that location, the captives would defend against the beasts themselves to survive. Moreover, there would be no real damage to the Eucline even if they were destroyed. A cold, cruel, extremely Dekilline-like thought. I thought he was a little more human these days. Uriel touched her temple. Lately, she found herself no longer able to peer into Dekilline. Well, I don't know what it means to be called human anymore after those assholes carried out such acts of terrorism. As Uriel talked to herself helplessly, the door opened again, revealing her butler. The Merrick Underground Passage's income this week has been aggregated. I see. As she looked at the document without much thought, her eyes immediately widened when millions of Elnies entered her sights. Money was pouring in huge amounts. How did this happen? Our weekly earnings far exceeded expectations. I thought it would take some time for word of mouth to spread. The number of visiting adventurers far exceeded our projections. As a natural result, the sales of the underground mall also increased. The product prices of Merrick's restaurants, hardware stores, equipment stores, magic stores, and others, including the Pig's Flour, were 30% higher than in most cities, but adventurers who valued convenience over money paid without hesitation. Oh, okay. That's a good thing. Let's stay calm and keep the profits flowing. Got it? Of course. Her own territory remained the top priority. She didn't care about the empire, imperial family, emperor, demon blood, or others. After all, from childhood to adulthood, Uriel's only possession was their estate. You may go. All right. After sending her butler away, she immediately placed her hands on both cheeks. She looked at the ledger again, laughing like a child. It was 10 times the income they expected. She couldn't stand the excitement. Kaya, Kaya tilde, she sang like a nightingale and played the turntable. Tilde, Uriel danced a slightly clumsy waltz to the resonating classic. Asterisk, Rohalak. A wasteland close to a desert, having neither grass growing nor sand. The scorching sun and sweltering heat dominated its barren soil. Although I had only ever seen this scenery in the game, it was bleaker than I thought it would be. Professor. Julie grabbed the hem of my robe. When I looked over at her, she hesitatingly spoke. Don't you think the ground here is too weak to build a camp? It was a cautious question. The Freyden, her family, had more than enough hatred towards the demon blood and the altar. Perhaps Zeit rebuked her, considering the way she asked, Aren't you going too far with Rohalak, shyly and euphemistically? It's okay. Suppression is better than annihilation. I would build the largest camp possible in this place to ensure that as many demon-blooded as possible could survive here. After all, a literal massacre would occur at the camps that many other wizard families would create in the distant future. But I'm just not certain if anyone can even survive here. Looking at our surroundings with man of great wealth activated, I immediately located Rohalak's water source, which I would use as the focal point of the fortress. Julie. Yes, trust me. What concerns you won't happen. When I smiled to reassure her, Julie nodded. Professor, the raw materials are ready. I soon heard a shout coming from a distance, where multiple wagons filled with steel frames were parked. Wuong. I used psychokinesis on all of them to make them hover. Today's objective was to build an iron wall to designate the border of the camp. My magic would prove extremely useful in achieving it, considering it was great for engineering and architecture. At some point, however, ugh. A small groan startled my heart more fiercely than anything else, causing me to immediately look back. Oh, I'm fine. I think I stepped on a cactus. Julie smiled bitterly. I didn't know if she was feeling ill or just hot, but sweat dripped down her chin. Asterisk asterisk the Eucline residence, late evening. Julie, who fell asleep as soon as she returned from Rohalak, got up quickly at some point, feeling as if her soul was being thrown out of her heart. Pant, pant. The immense pain she felt made her upper body stiffen. After repeatedly conducting a breathing technique for some time, she quickly came out of the room. Phew! She walked through the Eucline mansion's fancy passage. Julie. The sudden call made her body jerk upright. Amid the darkness of the hallway beyond her, Killeen stood, gazing upon her. Are you feeling well? Yes, I'm fine. She smiled to some extent in a natural manner. Killeen approached her silently, his expression making her feel sorrowful for reasons she couldn't fathom. Brightly, Julie deliberately asked, when is your mission to the imperial family going to begin? What? My throat. Letting a coughing fit pass, Julie continued speaking as usual. I heard it all, it's okay, I understand. Now, to some extent, I have learned to be flexible. She placed her hand on her chest and smiled triumphantly. Nodding, Killeen replied, next week. I see, don't fail. If you do, I'll get angry. He stared at her smile in silence, causing his agony, which had been thriving deep down, to resurface. Julie. Yes. If her knowing that he had changed would be poison for her, if the person named Killeen shouldn't be by her side, wouldn't that mean the villain's fate was trying to deprive him of even the opportunity to become a good man, Julie? Yes. Why are you calling me twice? He took off his gloves and gently brushed her frizzy hair. It startled her, but she soon accepted his gesture. The full moon shone through the window, illuminating him. In his blue, crystal-like eyes, his sorrow churned like the sea. I know your injuries are my fault. Why are you doing this again? It's not because of that. I was also fully compensated for that day. He shook his head, remembering what truly happened, what Kim Woojin saw in Killeen's diary. It happened in Merrick. No, that's not what you got. Even under the worst circumstances, Julie didn't give up on him. The compensation for her irreparable injury was the dismissal of Freyden's 50 million Elni's worth of debts to Eucline. However, though she was the actual victim, she received neither gratitude nor a single penny. Instead of being apologetic, Killeen blamed her for failing her mission. Although she feared her father's punishment, Julie understood it all. That's why at any cost. His hand combing through her hair then rested on her shoulder. Perhaps out of fear, he couldn't even bring himself to caress her. I will definitely cure you. She looked at him blankly. It would have been scary if it was like the old days, but now she felt relieved. No. Julie smiled softly and nevertheless shook her head. The pain in her heart got a little worse, but one side of her chest seemed to have warmed up. I'll get over it on my own. Her smile reached Killeen like the moonlight. So please, you don't have to do that. Immediately after that, she suddenly moved her finger towards his ear and flicked it, causing his expression to change vaguely. Laughing, she said, You don't look great. Smile. Your expressionless face must scare your students so much. Meow. A sudden loud cry interrupted her. Eek! Letting out a strange squeal, Julie rushed into Killeen's arms. Bang! Their bodies collided, but his solid physique easily caught her. Pat, pat. Finding it strange that she bumped into a steel wall in the middle of the room, she tapped on it with her finger involuntarily, then looked up blankly. Killeen shook his head. Have you been reading fairy tales? Pretending to be surprised is so cliché. Did you call me for this? And no. I'm not pretending to be surprised at all, and it was you who called out to me first. Julie, taking a huge step backward, pointed to a feline. That cat, meow, it came closer as it cried, revealing its black fur. Do you know it? Well, if it were raised by a monk or Uriel, it wouldn't be dirty like that. Meow, the cat clung to Julie's leg while crying. I think it chose you. She glanced at Killeen. Meow, meow, it rubbed its body against her as it purred. I must find its owner. She then took it in one hand and went back to her room. Asterisk asterisk Eferen played around in bliss for the past 3 days of her vacation. Naturally, she didn't forget to review the magic training book Rohakan gave her, along with Killeen's understanding the pure elements. She hadn't solved the last question of Killeen's midterm exam yet. However, Something far more pressing than that was happening right now. Phew. Efren took a deep breath while waiting for the elevator to the Isle of Wizards' Wealth. Today was the registration day for the Solda promotion test. Her body and mind trembled anxiously. Iffy, Julia appeared behind her. "Oh, you're here as well. Of course, the others will be a bit late today. After your orientation, let's eat meat at my house." "Sure," Efren answered enthusiastically. Today, she was definitely going to eat a rohawk. "Please prepare for boarding. It's here. Let's go, Iffy." Yeah, they rode the elevator together. The admission fee was expensive, but thanks to her professor's recommendation, it was free. Woo-wah. The magical elevator rose tens of meters per second. Ding. After about a minute, they arrived at the floating island. As soon as they did, Efren went straight to the Medjisen and approached the receptionist on the first floor. "I'm here to apply for the Solda promotion test. Please provide your documents and ID." "Okay." She pulled out a bunch of documents and identification from her backpack. Debutante Efren. "Confirmed. The promotion exam costs 10,000 elnis. 10,000 elnis. Efren took a deep breath and held out a card, her hands trembling. "Thank you. The orientation will be held there. Go inside." The staff pointed to the auditorium behind the counter. "Oh, got it. Iffy tilde good luck tilde I'll be at the magic shop tilde." "Thanks." She heard Pig's Flower recently opened a new branch, the huge success of which seemed to have made Julia extremely wealthy. She probably spent 10 to 20,000 elnis per month. Efren felt jealous. "Anyway, I'm so nervous." Clenching her fists tightly, she went into the auditorium, immediately finding a familiar figure in one of its seats. "Oh, you're here too. Hey." Efren approached Sylvia and sat down next to her. Sylvia glanced at her but remained silent, which seemed to have been within her fellow debutante's expectations, considering she started looking around before she could even answer. "Huh, there are adventurers here too, aren't there?" "Am I wrong?" No, this is actually a common occurrence. Instead of Sylvia, who kept her mouth shut, the man beside Efren answered, "There are many wizards among adventurers. Even if they don't meet the required credits, they can take the test if they've retained their adventurer license for 2 years or more." "Aha, tilde, is that so?" "I heard the adventurer test, and the Solda promotion test will be held at the same time this year. Some of its procedures will probably overlap." Although adventurers and wizards appeared to be far different, they had a certain degree of homogeneity. After all, the creator of the Isle of Wizards' Wealth and the founder of the Adventure Guild were one and the same. "Oh, really? How do you know so much?" Smiling, the man showed his license to her. "Whoa, you're an adventurer?" "Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Caraxel. I've been an adventurer for 3 years now. If you're in your 3rd year, can't you just get promoted to Solda?" Adventurers could usually be classified by years of experience. If one were to get a license only to play around afterward, it would be confiscated after a year. Hence, their number of years in service served as evidence of their skills. "Haha, I already have 3 children." The difference in unit price between Solda and Debutante is almost 2 or 3 times. "Aha, wait, 3? How old are you?" Efren's eyes widened. Even though he looked to be in his mid-20s, his words made him sound far older. 33, I got married 10 years ago." "Whoa." Efren covered her mouth in amazement. "We will now begin the orientation, which will be conducted by one of the Solda exam's actual supervisors." The auditorium's light turned off. After that, a wizard appeared on the podium. Efren grew momentarily surprised, and Sylvia, sitting next to her, trembled profusely. She almost looked like she was vibrating. "Nice to meet you." They were already all too familiar with that introductory greeting. "I am a monarch-cranked wizard that specializes in elements." The supervisor of the Solda promotion test orientation was none other than Deculene, the head professor of the Imperial University Tower. Chapter 84, Gale 3. Feeling powerful tremors, Efren glanced at Sylvia. She thought it was an earthquake at first, but as time passed, it gradually subsided. Was she dumped after confessing? It wasn't a bad hypothesis. Shaking her head, she focused her gaze on Deculene again. This test is divided into 3 stages, and passing the first stage will immediately promote you to Solda. The second and third phases are simply additional exams that would factor in your subsequent promotion to the next rank. After clearing all 3 stages, soldiers would get a chance to earn additional points to aid their next advancement. This system was made since not all wizards in the same rank were equal in prowess. Moreover, this exam will be conducted at the training island. Deucalion snapped his finger, and the landscape of the venue he mentioned appeared in the air. It was a familiar location for Ephraim. However, while the camp will be held for a certain period, keep in mind that you will be tested on and off the property. Snap! He snapped his fingers once more, this time revealing what looked like a dormitory. Ephraim looked around, finding people that she thought came from all over the country. To begin, a Level 0 exam will be held today. Assistant Professor Allen then appeared and handed out test papers. Surveying the content, he found 6 unknown magic circles recorded in it. This is simply to figure out your ability to interpret magic prior to the test itself. Before he could finish speaking, Sylvia stood up, climbed up the podium, and presented her exam paper to Deucalion. She had already written down the answers. Professor, Debutante Sylvia, pass. You may leave. Take your exam certificate with you. He held out the exam certificate. Looking up at him with her lips sealed, she soon quickly stretched her hand and snatched the exam certificate. Looking at her expression as she left the auditorium, Ephraim was convinced. She was dumped. Ephraim and Sylvia came out together, both carrying their exam certificates in their hands. Congratulations. You're number 1 this time, too. Ephraim thoughtfully said. Sylvia simply glared at her, muttering, "Stupid Ephraim. Whoa, you talked. What do you take me for, an idiot?" She walked away briskly, and Ephraim followed her as she laughed. You were silent until now. Now that you've finally spoken up, let's do well on the exam together, okay? Count me in on that as well, please. A low-pitched voice interrupted their conversation. Turning around in surprise, she found Caraxel, a 33-year-old married man with 3 children. Mr. Caraxel, you solved it pretty quickly, huh? Ha-ha. Well, it only contained basic questions. Sylvia came at first place, followed by an unknown person, then Ephraim was in 3rd. Caraxel would most likely be in 4th or 5th place. Oh, are you and Professor Deucalion close? We're just attendees of his lecture. Is that so, Tilda? As they talked, Ephraim noticed Sylvia had already walked quite far away from them. Hastily, she caught up to her. Hey, let's go together. Shut up. Leave me be. Seriously, why are you like this? Why are you so mean? Arrogant Ephraim, how dare you say that to me? Caraxel watched the 2 quarrel, keeping a distance of about 10 steps. Is she the Iliad's daughter, Demon Blood's secret society, Cradle of Trees? Caraxel belonged to it, but he had been having extremely complicated feelings lately. Deucalion. It was his first time meeting him today, but even before then, he was already considered the most dangerous person from the Demon Blood's perspective. After all, the professor actually made his crazy plan to build a concentration camp in Rohalak come to reality. Should I just observe for now? Caraxel sneakily trailed the 2 debutantes. The 2 kids still didn't know what would happen in the Solda test. Hence, he thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to be around them for a while. They were directly related to Deucalion, after all. Let me come with you and treat you to a meal, Tilda, smiling awkwardly. He ran toward them. According to the Imperial Conference results regarding the Demon Blood treatment, the Imperial family actively support the development of blood magic to identify them, and have decided to enforce the Demon Blood voluntary report method. When a member of the said clan voluntarily reports themselves to the Empire, BRRR, deep in thought, while listening to the radio in an airship flying above the Isle of Wizards' Wealth, a small vibration occurred in my pocket. I took out a luxurious box from my inner pocket, revealing 5 crystal balls in it. Can you hear me? It was Arlo's voice. Didn't I say there was a risk of wiretapping? It depends on the subject. Fine, speak. I found the location of those you mentioned. Write it. Western Empire, Viscounty Rodman, Peaton. Since her information network was reliable in tracking down people, I recently asked her to find a certain named. Done. What are you going to do? Isn't it obvious? The Demon Blood Repression Order was issued last week. Are you going to the concentration camp? No, I have some that I have to kill. I'll make sure that the loach-like trash in dirty water won't even be able to regenerate. PFFF. Arloes hung up the connection, chuckling. Perhaps she knew what kind of demon blood I was talking about. My targets today were Zekrek, Zertan, and Zeketin. Those three brothers were the named demon blood that would instigate the sudden event called the Three Brothers Terror. They were also the inventors of the annoying trap item called the Three Brothers Scroll. I wanted to kill those assholes right now, but we will soon arrive at our destination. Unfortunately, this airship was headed for the training island. It was the place where the Solda promotion test would take place. Woong. The airship landed, causing a weak tremor, and a familiar voice called me as soon as I disembarked. "Oh, Professor de Kulin." Standing by the coast, the chairman came running and handed me a newspaper made by the Journal, the most famous press outlet and newspaper in the Empire. "Professor de Kulin, look at this." She pointed to a featured article in it. This was very alarming. "The chairman with a newspaper, is this evidence that the world's ending? I beg your pardon. Are you mocking me now? We just recently experienced a terrorist attack." There's also the demon blood incident. The Journal specifically released this article to inspire patriotism during this trying times. I glanced at it. The Empire's 13 strongest individuals. 7th head Professor de Kulin, they reveal a person per day. Anyway, you're ranked 7th. The 13 most powerful people of the Empire. That title alone was strange. Interesting. I read the article. The most mysterious and mystifying wizard in the site of the Demon Blood's terrorist attack was undoubtedly de Kulin. In his wake, he created a majesty that seemed to dominate both space and time. It would have been hard to believe if not for the clear pictures and videos that captured his excellence at that moment. According to rumors, he even fought the Empire's worst criminal, Rohakan, to a standstill. After 3 years of agony, head Professor de Kulin's power, which seemed to have overcome a wall, has now reached a level that no one can comprehend. Unable to read it to the end, I returned it to the chairman. Zeitz ranked first, then Isaac. I came in 3rd place. Have you finally reached a level similar to mine? Stop it. The strongest of the Empire, except for me, the rest were indeed quite powerful. The Empire's 13 strongest individuals won. The King of Winter Zeit 2, Commander of the Imperial Knights Isaac 3, Chairman Adrian 4. The Emperor's Knight Chiron 5, Beautiful Asura Gainsha 6, Female Demon Logan 7, Head Professor de Kulin. The name de Kulin looked too out of place between those huge names. They definitely made a huge mistake with that guess. Why? Professor de Kulin is being acknowledged this much. I'm mad they put me in 3rd place, though. I'm going to find Isaac and kill him right now. Don't do that. They didn't write this article for us to kill each other. Aren't you mad as well for being ranked so low? On the contrary, I feel humbled. 7th is too high. I was by no means underestimating my combat power. My body and magic were at a level that could dominate against any intermediate or higher level named in battle. That was especially true if my opponent was a demon. After all, I carried the Eucline bloodline, but to be 7th in overall rank was too much. I don't like the content of that article. Really, that's surprising. I thought you would like it. Forget it. Let's discuss the matter at hand. Why did you call me? What do you mean? It's obviously for the promotion test. Instead of Adrian, I heard a voice carrying quite a heavy accent. Looking towards its source, I found a chuckling pink-haired wizard. It's been a while, Professor de Kulin. Professor de Kulin. Rose Rio, Ethuracranked, still got the pronunciation wrong. Like during the rune lecture she was with Jindalf. That's right. We're preparing for the promotion exam and we have a role for you. What is it? Security manager. You're the 7th strongest in the Empire, after all. Terrorism is in full swing. Who knows what will happen during the exam? 7th strongest. My head hurt from listening to it. However, the first Solda exam was well worth participating in since the frequency of unexpected events being triggered gradually increased throughout its duration. All right. However, I'll receive the detailed information in writing. I have something to do today. Something to do? The chairman tilted her head, and Jindalf, stroking his beard, asked, "Ha, may I ask what?" I answered briefly, "Hunting. Asterisk, a private house's damp basement in the city of Peaton near the Viscounty of Rodman. It's done. We can now create an explosion with a scroll alone." Zekrek, Zertin, and Zekitin, the so-called three brothers, laughed as they high-fived each other. "Fuck, it's time we show those damn Empire bastards. Can we destroy the house next door right now, brother? I don't like our neighbor's little kid." The eldest shook his head at the second's venomous words. "No, our priority is to deliver this scroll to the high priests." Scroll bomb. It didn't need any special intermediary, and there was no need for a caster to supply it with mana. It was a groundbreaking invention perfect for guerrilla warfare. The altar was the right choice. "Their people share the same ideals, and they even gave us a lot of support," the youngest exclaimed. The eldest seemed to agree. "Right. Let's help the altar wipe out the filthy empire and its people. Let's bring the Age of God to reality again." "Right, that's right. Oh, this is not the time." The second hurriedly brought an alcoholic drink, poured it into their glasses, and smiled at the two. "For the Age of God. For the Age of God." As their glasses clinked, silent steel rushed in. Piercing through the ceiling, it beelined into the eldest's neck. Ugh! After a short throw, he fell. A bizarrely sudden situation. The remaining of the three stared at their brother, who had collapsed onto the ground. Dazed, they felt as if they were merely having a nightmare, but a tremendous sound soon reminded them this was their reality. Boom! The moment the basement door and light were destroyed, pure darkness engulfed the room. Tap, tap, the cold sound of footsteps entered their ears. "Why you?" They stared into the shining blue eyes before them, knowing all too well who they belonged to. Dekilleen. His eyes narrowed down, seemingly offended just by having their lips call out his name. Their stupefaction only lasted for a minute, however. Finally making sense of their eldest brother's death, anger boiled up inside them. "Oh, our brother." Dekilleen's wood steel soon came crashing in like waves to a cliff as his opponents gathered mana to create a barrier. However, his 10 projectiles didn't stop swinging against it, seemingly willing to destroy the whole place if it meant making their blood spill. Bang, bang, bang. Their continuous barrage quickly smashed their defenses, but the steel pieces didn't stop there. Ag. The terrifying sound of flesh being ripped apart echoed along with their agonizing screams. "Professor, are you all right?" Hearing such pain-filled cries, the knights swiftly lit up the basement, only to find 3 corpses with so many holes in them that they looked like human beehives. "They're dead," one of the knights muttered, stunned by the horror before them. Regardless, when Dekilleen's expressive gaze fell on them, their posture straightened. "I had to kill them." Yes, that's right. You are absolutely right." As the knights responded in fear, he looked at the hole-riddled bodies apathetically. "Take them out." Yes, all right." The 6 knights hurriedly carried the corpses and went out. Alone for a moment, Dekilleen stared at the 3 brothers' magical legacy. The 3 brothers' earth magic. They met each other during some games. 3 brothers' bomb scroll, 3 brothers' detonation scroll, etc. As named characters belonging to both the wicked and insane categories, those mad inventors annoyed the world by making whatever they could explode. Let me use this technique as it is. Dekilleen turned around after taking their research results, climbed the stairs, finding the knights loading their bodies in wagons. One knight asked, "Are you going back now?" "No," Dekilleen shook his head. Then, "Before rumors about this spreads, we should catch as many of them as possible." Dekilleen's aura remained cold as he answered. The knights staring at him felt chills and fear, and they knew the reason. Although they were in charge of escorting Dekilleen on Julie's behalf today, they were still F-ranked and at the bottom of the Imperial Guard. The difference between them and the R-ranked Dekilleen was enough, with a little exaggeration, for them to commit suicide immediately if he ordered them to. "She's coming." He then pointed at the direction the Deputy Director of the Public Safety Bureau approached from, having received the report. Rushing over, she looked at Dekilleen. He didn't avoid her gaze. "I caught 3 demon blood. I'll leave the rest to you." Primion's eyes reached the corpses on the wagon, her expression remaining unchanged. She was, after all, already used to hiding her true emotions. "Did you hear me?" he asked. Primion nodded. "I will take good care of it." August 1st. I came to the underground passage today after applying for the adventurer test at the guild. It's a bit odd that the underground passageway was built a lot faster than expected, but I don't think it's bad. There are so many story branches here, and since it makes it easier to attack Marek, I consider it a huge help for the main quest. Leah, this is delicious. Yes, it is. That was Gaincha just now. We're currently eating meat called rohawk at a fine dining restaurant called Pig's Flour. It's delicious, but I guess I have a sweet tooth. Huh, Ledek just passed by, isn't he dead? That's interesting. There are a lot of adventurers here in the underground passage. Sometimes I see people who can be called named. I even saw Jarek, an insane named character. Our eyes met for just a moment, and my heart almost stopped. He is, after all, a really horrifying person. If he gets mad, he'll destroy this tunnel in no time. "What are you going to do at Marek, Gaincha?" I asked while eating ice cream. Ice cream was free at this restaurant. Both in the modern world and this world, I think it's a characteristic of well-known restaurants. You know what I mean? There are sometimes meat restaurants where ice cream is free. Well, Tilda, I don't know, Leah. Gaincha tilted her head, looking like she had no plans. In terms of combat power alone, she's one of the strongest in this reality, but outside of battles, she's so easygoing and sloppy that I can't properly trust her. Maybe I'll mine a couple of mana stones, do some hunting. There's a lot of things to do there. Tilda, mana stone mining and hunting. Good. This is my chance to get free items. Marek is still tough for my level, but Gaincha will be able to kill them all with ease. Are you okay? Aren't you scared? Yes, I'm fine. It's great that Carlos and Leo couldn't come due to age restrictions. If I don't see them, I get worried and feel empty, but those annoying guys piss me off almost every day. It takes a little getting used to this daily routine, but it's not bad. If I keep growing, I'll meet Julie, Sylvia, Zeit, Arlos, Dekiline, Sofian, and even God one day. I will meet God and ask him to send me back to my original world. For that, growth, sweet things, growth, sweet. No, not sweet, but growth, only sweet. I mean only growth, growth. That's all I have on my mind right now. End of today's diary. P.S. I don't know how long I'll be able to write in this diary, but I plan to keep it going for as long as possible as a means to maintain myself. After finishing her diary entry, Leah took a close look at her surroundings and released her magic, turning it into a mere air current that stuck to her body like a tattoo. That was caused by inventorization, one of the essential characteristics of a player. Phew, that was a good meal. Well then, Leah, shall we go now? Rayleigh's probably already waiting for us. Yeah, Tilda, let's go. She smiled brightly as they walked out of the dining room. I returned to my office in the tower. Alan, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, had a strange expression but soon smiled brightly and held out a newspaper to me. "Professor, have you read this?" It was the Empire's 13 Strongest Individuals article again, which ranked me as 7th. "I've read it. Put it away." "Oh, okay, then here." Alan handed me a document. Finally, a bit of good news. Drent's application form, I see. I nodded. With this, I secured Drent and Eferen. Eferen was an all-time talent, and Drent was also quite a genius himself. I could even form my own school with just the two of them. I looked at my assistant professor involuntarily, who was now expressionless. When our eyes met, she smiled a little awkwardly, but she was strangely cold. "You may go." "Okay, Tilda." When she left my office, Julie came in immediately afterward. On her shoulder was the Imperial cat Blackie. "It'll begin in 3 days, won't it, Professor?" She looked more serious than me. "Yes. Imperial Palace Quest, Demon's Mirror Store currency +10, unknown." This quest had finally come to the fore. "Yes, I've been thinking about it lately and have made a decision." She closed her eyes and then took a deep breath, her face growing more serious by the second. Interested in what she was trying to say after setting this atmosphere, I watched her intently. "The day I met Blackie, I understood the potential in your body." "You mean the day you hugged me?" "Ah, no, not that. It was the day I met Blackie." Julie blushed, but she quickly regained her composure. It seemed teasing her twice wouldn't work right now. I found it a bit of a shame. Your incoming mission will definitely be dangerous. However, your body is naturally that of a warrior. So, hence, I've decided that I, Julie von Deafreden, she put her hand on her chest, will train you in martial arts and swordsmanship. For quite a long while I remained silent as I stared at her. Stillness enveloped us. Julie seemed to have mistaken my lack of words as me finding her offer embarrassing and disappointing since, after blinking a few times and pouting, she slowly took a step backward, then swiftly ran away. Only then did I call out to her. Wait, come back. Okay, I'll learn from you. Forget it. You seem to think my skills are subpar and common, but do you even know how many knights wanted and want to become my disciple? I have nothing to lose either. I don't. Between the slightly ajar door, her upset voice rang out. Chapter 85. Not far from the urban area of the continent was an exceedingly high-priced plot of land that embraced not only lakes and streams, but also the mountains behind it. That served as the Ainz mansion's colossal site. One could even argue that it was too gigantic. After all, thanks to the recent surge in the continent's land prices, their residence's monetary value was now equal to the annual budget of small and medium-sized estates. Julie, proud of herself for having purchased a 3-story mansion near the island alone, seemed to enjoy her everyday life in the Ainz property. A few laps around its backyard was enough to complete her morning jogging, and its large sports ground provided ample space for worry-free swordsmanship training. Moreover, all the meals served in the mansion were equivalent to a 3-star restaurant. Dequillin set very strict standards for its expansive grounds, but I didn't care what the servants did as long as it was tidy. I even authorized the import documents they carefully handed me. The attendants with far-reaching connections heard rumors of exotic pottery, tableware, beans, food, flower seeds, and carpets from a distant foreign land. With my permission, they imported all of them under the Ainz name. As a result, beautiful flowers and trees from all over the world now grew in our gardens. The mansion's interior was filled with all kinds of scents and aromas, and the clear lakes and streams were made suitable for summer vacation. Julie seemed to especially like lakes. Whenever I couldn't find her, I knew she would be lying down near one together with her new pet, Blackie. Ultimately, our residence became a place where luxurious comfort and unobtrusive abundance embraced people. Everyone who visited our home couldn't help but appreciate it, even if just for a moment. A paradise as alluring as a Venus flytrap, that was the Ainz mansion. Basic stamina is the most important thing, Julie said, standing on the sports ground. For the first time in so long, she wasn't wearing her armor but instead a gray gym uniform. Hence, Professor, why are you looking at me like that? She tilted her head. I shrugged. It's been a long time since I last saw you wear something other than your armor, but that's it? Ah, Tilda, I see. Julie, who just accepted my complaint as a fact, pulled her clothes tight. I've been using this since my days in the Knights Templar. It's pretty good stuff. It's made of femurine, so it should still be fine for the next 20 years. I see. MMHMM. Going back, when it comes to physical fitness, one's basic physical strength is the most crucial factor. She swiftly returned to the main topic. Julie grabbed a wooden sword. Let me first show you an example. This is the simplest rotation move. Weak. She swung it twice. She initially drew a diagonal frontal strike, then turned around, rotating it around with her. Her movements were almost simultaneous. I even momentarily thought there were 2 Julys. It's also known as spin move. Spin move, spin move-y, spin move. In any case, although a very basic move in our field, it can cause an injury if its executors carrying a large load on their back and knees, have poor basic physical strength, or are equipped with untrained muscles. Julie handed me a wooden sword, which I grabbed and immediately used to follow her movements. Swish, swish, it wasn't that different in my opinion. Momentary confusion flashed in her eyes. Blinking a couple of times, she said, "Try it one more time." Swish, swish. I repeated the same move. Once again confused, she looked at the curriculum script that I had placed under the shade of a tree. You seem to be doing well at a glance, but please try one last time. I executed the spin movie again. When she doubted her eyes for the third time, I finally decided to interrupt her. Accept it. I can do it just like you can. You can, but your risk of injury is greater. I won't get hurt. You might think so, but your risk of injury is high. Are you a parrot? That's why basic physical strength is essential. Drops of sweat formed on her forehead. She seemed to have thought of me as someone weak, like most other wizards, which made her decide to start with the basics. We'll begin with a running session today. Are you ready? Sure. Okay, let's go. Julie moved at her regular pace, and I followed, keeping a gap of a couple of steps from her. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. She glanced sideways. You're really trying hard. Yeah. Good, keep at it. We continued down our path. I didn't know how much my stamina compared to that of a knight, but Iron Man was a pretty advanced attribute, and I didn't neglect my mental strength, so it should be fine. Are you okay? Julie looked behind her to check up on me again. Yes. She nodded proudly. Our basic training went on. I'm going to speed it up a little bit more. Okay. Seemingly finding it unexpected that I could match her pace easily, she picked up the pace as if to daunt me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. In no time at all, we did 10 laps. Are you okay, Professor? Yeah. Whoa, my perfectly fine state surprised her. I felt like the basic stamina of Iron Man had grown much more than before, perhaps because my Monner rating had been upgraded to the 4th rank. Do you want to stop? No, I'm okay. I see. We continued. We were practically sprinting now. I couldn't even remember how many laps we had made anymore. Noticing how Julie sweated profusely while seemingly in pain, I realized it too late. When one had a heart injury, their biggest problem would always be their basic stamina, specifically cardiorespiratory endurance. I slowed down to a halt. Let's stop. I'm tired now. Is that so? She laughed bitterly, her expression dark, which evidenced she was unhappy with her physical condition. Your basic physical strength is sufficient, Professor. You must have exercised separately. I looked at her silently. Damp with sweat, she seemed more beautiful than ever. Julie, you are a knight. Yes, I am. Julie tilted her head, wondering why I said something obvious. With a faint smile on my lips, I continued. I wanted to be someone that suited you. That's why I worked hard. She didn't reply, but her breathing stopped for a moment and her ears tainted red. It was a cute reaction. It's a joke. I wanted to live. I see. I took my words back and told the truth, but she already had a shy blush on her cheeks. Let's go get something to eat. Sure. I went to the dining area first, and she followed hesitatingly. She also kept glancing at me the whole time we ate together. After our meal, my servant served luwak coffee, the high-quality coffee beans used on it causing Julie's eyes to light up. Thank you, Tilda. Sip after sip, I hid a smile as I watched her drink it dearly. Julie, let's begin preparations for today's Imperial lecture. Oh, okay. The moment I cued her to start the escort mission again, her expression changed to that of a lioness. Asterisk. The royal palace at the Imperial City. A cumbersome traditional event called the Emperor-Presided Meeting was underway. Safian sat down on her throne and looked down on her subjects, her hands full with the appeals presented by the ministers. I can't help but be concerned about the problems Marek's opening will cause, Your Majesty. It would only be proper to close it off now before it's too late. Those demon-blooded beasts always appear when we least expect it. Hence, I suggest focusing on them for now. The suppression of their kind will surely cause resistance. In response to the chaos and destruction that would bring, the Empire must. Safian had a headache. She didn't want to keep listening to the damn bastards before her, which she found so annoying she almost killed herself right away. I've already decided to open Marek. I do not intend to change my mind now. No, my lord. Her servant's shouts made the veins on her forehead pop. Your Majesty always said, please, don't disregard your servant's appeal so much. When adventurers invade it indiscriminately, demons will appear. While they clamored like crazy people, Chiron came up to her and whispered, Your Majesty, Deculine has arrived. Sophian smiled as soon as she heard that. Enough, it's time for my lectures. Begone? No, my lord, nothing has been decided yet. Are you unaware of what I'm learning from Deculine? Rune language, an invincible ability for Sophian. Not even her officials could mess with the days when she was supposed to learn more about it. You want me to waste such valuable time? Are you prepared to cope with the consequences of me doing so later? It's runes. Do you not know what runes are? Only then did her servants quiet down. Sophian sat up satisfactorily. Go, this is where we end the meeting. Asterisk, asterisk, you're finally here. The Emperor welcomed Deculine with a smile in the study room today. I am. I had a really annoying meeting today. It's a tradition that the Emperor presides over it, so it was inevitable. Those moronic subjects of mine kept asking so many things. Listening to them question every single decision I made felt disgusting. I see. Then let's start the class. Today's rune is Hebrew Tet Hebrewi Hebrew Yod Hebrew Samak Hebrew Hebrew He. Deculine began the lessons as soon as she took a seat. The Emperor's eyes became as sharp as an axe. Follow me. Hebrew Tet Hebrewi Hebrew Yod Hebrew Samak Hebrew Hebrew He. B. Not B. Hebrew Tet Hebrewi Hebrew Yod Hebrew Samak Hebrew Hebrew. Sophian rested her hand on her chin while looking at him. A sigh from the Emperor's lips made her boredom known. Hebrew Tet Hebrewi Hebrew Yod Hebrew Samak Hebrew Hebrew He. You never ask anything about my policy, do you? Hebrew Tet Hebrewi Hebrew Yod Hebrew Samak Hebrew Hebrew He. You're only saying that damn rune. Her motivation to learn today was close to zero after suffering from her servants. Realizing that fact, Deculine reluctantly focused on Sophian's words. My servants were eager to know why I reopened Merrick, even though it doesn't even really matter what the reason is to them. They'll oppose it anyway and welcome the demon blood suppression, an extension of it, with open arms. She stopped talking abruptly and looked at him languidly. What do you think of my policy, Deculine? Why do you think the ministers are against its reopening? The reason why the officials of the Empire opposed it, why they desperately tried to close that door even though it had already been opened. He answered without a moment's hesitation. The supply of mana stones is already sufficient, so why do we have to take the risk and open it? Everyone being against it, I think, makes some sense. Sophian's expression hardened, her lips curving into a frown. Humph, is that so? You're no different. She replied, her voice sounding disappointed as she leaned against her chair's backrest, but Deculine wasn't done yet. He slowly continued. However, the supply of it remaining sufficient is exactly what I find strange. The mines that produce it are clearly limited, and they have been exploited for hundreds of years. Her forehead scrunched in curiosity. Yet the mines that should have been statistically depleted long ago continue to procure them. The merchants selling the stones reason out that it's possible due to the development of mining technology. She slowly straightened up upon hearing his words. Moreover, the upper ranks are the ones that not only dictate the mana stone's price, but also determine its supply. Lopalasia, Vermonia, Crumacto. Even the last emperor tried to maintain an amicable relationship with those three. As Deculine nodded in agreement, Sophian leaned towards him. The emperor was merely careful of them. It's funny, isn't it? The inner story of the continent that she knew was simple. According to it, more than 70% of the mana stones circulated by the giant upper ranks now came from the altar, since the mines for it existed even in desolate lands that had been left untouched for hundreds of years. She looked at his lips, wanting to hear what he had to say next quickly. Yes. However, now that Merrick opened, countless mana stones have become available for mining. It also simultaneously leaves no room for the merchant's distribution network to interfere with the supply it'll produce. After all, it's all under the full authority of the imperial family. Thanks to that, those morons are in a hurry now. Merrick's mana stones are a fatal danger to them. That's why the ministers who took money from them keep pestering me. She smiled, and he reciprocated it. Exactly. In that sense, your majesty can use it to strengthen your power. If there's a demon blood among the chiefs of the upper ranks. There is. I know that for a fact, and I also know that if I keep messing with the demon blood, the altar will intervene. The Empire has many internal enemies, not external ones. That's what makes it an empire. The back and forth between Sophian and Deucalion continued as if they were one person. It was the first agreement she ever experienced in her life, but what came after that was far more important. Without knowing this key point, Deucalion wouldn't live up to her expectations. Knowing all of that, Your Majesty still declared to me that you will expedite annihilation outside, not inside. The Emperor said she would aim her sword externally to suppress the demon blood, even though she knew the enemy within. The flow of that logic was slowly reaching the Emperor's heart. She felt childishly excited after so long. Unable to wait for Deucalion to continue, she opened her mouth first. Right, mana stones are just the first trigger. Once the altar bastards become worried to death due to the opening, I will declare the Mulgi expedition myself. Mulgi is home to the altar. They'll inevitably feel threatened. Once they do, it's self-explanatory how they'd react. They will go on an expedition and raid the Empire's empty appearance. At that moment, Sophian looked into Deucalion's crystal-like blue eyes, staring into the pupils of the being who perfectly understood her will. You'll annihilate them. I'll annihilate them. They uttered those words almost at the same time. The Emperor was already smiling from ear to ear. For her, the incarnation of boredom and sloth, such insight was natural. Not a single piece of effort was spent. It was just like breathing. Her wisdom was that kind. She thought the professor before her, Deucalion, would be the same. Right, but I informed you of the conquest of Mulgi from the beginning. Why didn't you tell anyone? If I did, I would have become your enemy, which was what you actually rather hoped I would do. Oh, were you aware of it all? He nodded. Of course. It was all part of the storyline, after all. Ahaha. She put her own people around her to the test as a habit. Chiron and Deucalion were the only ones who didn't fail so far. Then let me ask you this. What is your Majesty's purpose? Is it simply the imperial power's growth and the altar's destruction? The Emperor's smile quickly subsided. The joy she felt towards Deucalion for understanding her lasted less than 5 minutes. I don't know. She leaned back. Her terribly drowsy look seemed somewhat sad. Even I don't know. At her quiet murmur, she heard words that sounded like an answer to her complaint. Then let's find out together. She doubted her ears for a moment. Let's find out together. It was something that no servants, not even Chiron, dared say to her. Sophian looked at Deucalion silently. Strangely enough, he was full of a certain duty. Her boredom was a task not only for Deucalion, but for the whole world. The Emperor, unaware of that, was completely puzzled. It's a lesson to find that purpose. The Emperor remained quiet for a moment, but even in that silence, Deucalion did not back down. Sophian waved her hand. Enough. You may go. I'm getting tired of your handsome face now. It seems it lasted a little longer than others, but from now on, please come with makeup. Class is not over yet. Please follow along. Hebrew tet Hebrewi Hebrew yod Hebrew samak Hebrew a Hebrew he. What? Hebrew tet Hebrewi Hebrew yod Hebrew samak Hebrew a Hebrew he. Deucalion was persistent, and the Emperor listened to him, shaking her head. Hebrew tet Hebrewi Hebrew yod Hebrew samak Hebrew a Hebrew he. Runes appeared, fly it meant. The whole space began to rise, and Deucalion, who confirmed the reaction, stood up. Thank you. Okay, go. Asterisk. After magic educator Deucalion left, Sophian lay on the hard floor of the study room, murmuring while staring at the ceiling. There's not a single lie. No unconscious lies, empty flattery, negative or positive habits. Anyone could do it at least once. But not him, apparently. There's also nothing he doesn't know. If I turn an encyclopedia into a human, I think he'll appear. Sophian was interested in Deucalion's self-confidence. He knew her thoughts, plans, grounds, everything. From their very first meeting, when she said she would conquer Mulgi, he had already pierced through her whole thinking. Even his arrogant nonsense of finding a goal, hey Chiron, you heard it too. Her eyes moved to her knight, whom she found smiling. Why do you look like that? You know the answer to that, Your Majesty. What? When are you going to get married? Do you want to be publicly executed, Chiron? Sophian stared at him. Now that drowsiness had engulfed her entirety, her anger had trouble welling up. If you're trying to provoke me, you succeeded. I'll praise you for that. I'll add it as one of your tasks. That's not it. The ministers are worried. Assholes. Sofian was in her early 20s, the perfect age for marriage. Of course, the number of years she had lived was probably twice that, but they didn't know that. There's no man who can handle me. Chiron didn't say anything. What? He just looked at the closed door. Sofian quickly understood what he meant. Deculine. Are you crazy? I have no hobby of stealing other people's things. I didn't say anything. Your political skills have improved, for a night. Chiron just shrugged. You're annoying me too, so I need you to leave too. Okay. He left immediately. After kicking him out, she thought quietly, Deculine. He saw the world from the same perspective as hers. Hence, it was understandable that he had that kind of personality. There were so many stupid people in the world she had to deal with, so she couldn't help but get pissed off. Should I consider myself fortunate that I'm not alone? Sofian grinned. She had found at least one comrade. I wasn't sure before, but I'm finally convinced. Thanks to him, I can finally have fun for a while. For now, that was enough for her. PFF, arrogant bastard. What, find out a purpose together? Lessons? Sofian chuckled, recalling the conversation they just had. After an hour, she finally got tired of it. 1 hour. It was already quite a long duration for her. ***Eferen continued preparing for her trip. Towel, toothbrush, soap, shampoo, emergency food, review books, and, the most important of them all, her eyes widened when she looked at it. Aged Rohawk? Those 4 pieces of Rohawk, which her father gave her as a gift to pass the exam, was the most valuable food right now. She planned to bake one at a time when she felt most tired and sad during the exam. Phew, time to go. With the backpack on, she took a deep breath and went out of the dormitory. She first stopped by the magistrate, wrote a letter to her sponsor, and then strolled through the campus despite the undesirable weather brought forth by the rainy season. When is she coming? She stood under the clock tower of the campus, waiting at the place they agreed on today. A friend decided to go to the Isle of Wizards' Wealth with her. Eferen tilde here tilde, just in time, made Leet's soft voice called out to her. Sitting in the driver's seat, she honked. Hello, Tilda. Eferen smiled brightly and sat in the back seat. Sylvia next to her had a dissatisfied face, but she didn't stop the ride itself. Let's do well together. I want to get to the next rank too. Arrogant Eferen. He. Without that line, she really couldn't feel like her day was complete. As she chuckled, Sylvia looked freaked out. Seemingly thinking she was beside some kind of pervert, she snuggled up against the window. Now, let's go, Tilda. Yep. Together they set out for the floating island. Vroom, watching the passing scenery outside the car, Eferen thought about her future. The things she would do under Deculine. Her father's past and his death. Eferen clenched her fist. Sylvia, on the other hand, only thought of Deculine. Her heart ached every time she thought of him, but she couldn't stop it. In this way, he served as the firewood in her heart, perhaps according to Glython's plan. It was so huge and dry it probably wouldn't stop burning even after she became an archmage. Huh, isn't that uncle? Sylvia looked at where Eferen was pointing, where she found the married man they had met before, Caraxel, standing by the roadside. Approaching them with a smile, he shouted, Oh, Eferen, Sylvia, what good timing, Tilda, can't you give me a ride to Tilda? Leet glanced at Sylvia, who sighed before agreeing to the idea. She would meet him at the exam hall anyway. She didn't have to be mean. Chapter 86. After completing the Emperor's lessons, I walked along the corridors of the Imperial Palace with Julie, who maintained a vigilant posture despite where we were. Amid our way, Jalang appeared. Sir Eucline. There was an incident in the basement. Agreeing to come with him, we headed underground through the only passageway leading to the Demon's Mirror. This place is darkness. However, it's closed. That's the problem. He frowned. The door to the basement was covered with dry tissue as thick as tar. Since when has it been in this state? Just today. It used to be an ordinary door before it became like this. He grabbed the doorknob and shook it randomly, but it didn't budge. Even the knights couldn't open it, so I had to send them all back. I nodded. Then perhaps the right time hasn't come yet. You mean, Sir Eucline, do you know what's in there? What lurked in this basement, and what the quest darkness of the Imperial Palace meant. I didn't only witness it. I also cleared it as a player. Ultimately, it pointed to the darkness embraced by the owner of the Imperial Palace. In other words, Safian's past awaited us beyond this door, and the mirror was a passageway to it. A demon desiring to get involved with it was only natural. After all, her death would mean the end of this world. As I said before, if she died, it would be game over. That was how the system worked. Since Safian was a regressor, there were dozens of quests offering opportunities to explore the past. Among them, this was an extremely important quest, but surprisingly enough, it didn't need to be treated with urgency at the moment. How would I know if I haven't even gone in? I'll be taking my leave now. Inform me when it opens. Yes, I'll do that. As Jialing turned around with a bitter expression in suspicion, Julie murmured, "That's strange. Why was the basement of the Imperial Palace like that? You don't have to know." What? Don't even think about interfering. Her eyes narrowed, but I paid no heed to it. She should never know what lurked in this place, Safian's death. The former Freyden head, her father, was also partly involved in it. Let's go. I have a lot to do today. All right. We left the Imperial Palace together. Ren, waiting in the car near the castle gate, took a look at his notebook. Your next agenda is in Rohalak of the Yukline County. His voice sounded different from usual, showing no signs of noticing it. I entered the vehicle. Let's go. Okay. Epheren, Sylvia, and Caraxel arrived at the Isle of Wizards' Wealth, finding its mystical scenery now somewhat familiar. Phew. Epheren felt nervous and excited at the same time. To get to the training island, the site of the Solda promotion test, they had to board an aircraft called an airship, which was why they were standing on its platform now. Of course, she had never seen one before, let alone board one. Are you all going? Fortunately, although Sylvia was quiet, the adventurer Caraxel was erudite and talkative. Do I just go in? Or do I have to do something beforehand? No, you just need to board calmly like you're entering home. I'm going first, Tilda. He climbed the high stairs of the platform ahead of them. Staring blankly at his back, she followed, but Sylvia grabbed her robe's hood before she could. Whoa, hey, what's your problem? Stupid Epheren. Her eyes narrowed down at Sylvia, who was looking at her shoes in silence. Oh, Tilda. Epheren grinned, realizing what she meant. You mean my shoes? I already know that. Do you think I'm stupid? She confidently pounded her chest, since Caraxel said, like you're entering a home, she thought she should take her shoes off. I'll be going up now, Tilda. Epheren scaled the steps gracefully like a noble, then took off her shoes before boarding the airship. She then looked around, looking for a shoe closet. There was none. Do we have to take care of it ourselves? One other passenger soon giggled, noticing her feet. Finding such a reaction strange, she looked around. Everyone was wearing shoes. PFF. Sylvia's disdainful giggle entered her ears as she passed by her with her shoes on, causing Epheren to blush in shame. That girl, seriously. She put her shoes back on and ran until a familiar figure caught her eye. Assistant Professor Allen. Epheren, I see you've put your shoes back on. Sylvia took her seat, her big cheeks seemingly filling up with laughter. Oh, Tilda? Yeah, okay, Tilda, was it fun, Tilda? I pretended to be fooled on purpose to make you feel happy. You seem depressed these days, you know. Epheren tried to keep her pride as she sat on her assigned seat as well, which was next to Sylvia. Please fasten your seat belts. Airship 305D will now be leaving. She did as the voice instructed. Sylvia, paying close attention to her gestures, mocked her. I guess you know how to wear a seat belt. Hump. As I said, I did it on purpose to brighten your mood up. Woo-woong, the airship rose. Ugh, what are you doing? Epheren instinctively grabbed Sylvia's shoulder, who did her best to push her away out of sheer surprise. Woong. Whoa, the more the aircraft shook, the more strength she applied to her grip, and the harder Sylvia shoved her away. Let go of me. Whoa, haha, it's floating. It's floating, whoa, ho, ho. You idiot, I told you to let go. Epheren clung to her body even more instead, however, with her arms now wrapped around her waist tightly and her forehead pressed against her forearm. Don't cling to me, idiot. Wait, airsickness, I'm feeling airsick. Ugh. What's wrong with me? Am I allergic? There's no such thing as an airship allergy, stupid. Oh no, don't vomit, resist it. If you vomit, I'll kill you. They arrived at the training island at night, prohibiting Epheren and Sylvia from looking around since it was already dark outside. Debutante Sylvia and Eferen. You two are in room 503. Your exam starts in 48 hours. Please feel free to rest until then. Before that, however, you must first give this document your seal and put it in the Goro's mouth outside the door. Immediately heading to their assigned room according to the staff's instructions, Eferen grew surprised by how spacious their accommodation was. She thought it would be like a college dormitory, but it was much larger. This is better than my house. In it were 2 beds, desks, and refrigerators. There were also 2 bathrooms and 1 couch. Everything was symmetrical. Eferen walked over blankly to the window and looked outside. Whoa, there's a cliff right in front of us. I can even see the clouds. Gr. A sudden roar echoed due to Sylvia's magic, which built a wall in the middle of their large room, dividing it into 2 spaces. Gosh, Eferen thought it was ridiculous, but she soon understood. Since she recently just got dumped, Sylvia would need some alone time. All right. Focusing on unpacking her items, she stored her Rohawk in the refrigerator and her emergency food, which included chocolate bars, in the inner pocket of her robe. Afterward, she looked at the documents handed to her by the testing staff. Solda Promotion Test Confirmation Examination Director, Rose Rio Jindalf Adrian. Supervisors, Ropel, Mimic, Relin, Dekilleen, Ihelm, Crancha, and 13 others. Security Officer, Dekilleen. Videos and reports recorded while taking the test can be purchased by various magic towers, the Isle of Wizards' Wealth, and families on the continent. This will be used as a scouting resource. The Isle of Wizards' Wealth cannot be held responsible for any injuries sustained during the exam. Your fingerprint. They take no responsibility whatsoever. That frightened her a little. Knock, knock, startled Eferen cautiously asked. Who is it? It's me, Caraxel. I have something to give you. Otilda opening the door, she found the adventurer smiling softly. Eferen, your room is a bit unusual. Mine's different. Sylvia did this? Oh, so these are the 3 primary colors. She has a truly creative talent. In admiration, he looked around the dorm that Sylvia perfectly divided in half and even installed 2 doors in. What brings you here? Ah. I'm here to give you these. He handed over cylindrical containers. When she tilted her head in confusion, he explained. These are called cup noodles, a pretty popular food in the South. Just dissolve its powder by pouring boiling water over it. Please give one to Sylvia, too. Oh, I see, Tilda, thank you. I was just starting to get hungry. Haha, well then, see you tomorrow. When he left, she stared blankly at the 2 cup noodles before knocking on Sylvia's door. Slam, it opened. Hey, this is a gift, take it. Sylvia passed by her without even looking at what she had in her hands. Where are you going? Goro's mouth. Oh, right. Eferen also came out with the documents. Goro's mouth was in the dormitory hallway. It was as black as could be and had huge lips. Sylvia put her set of papers into it first, followed by Eferen. Chomp, chomp. This is funny. It's chewing them. Goro's mouth spat out 2 crystals after devouring their documents, 1 for each of them. What's this? A personal crystal ball. You can communicate through it, and in a critical situation, it sends a signal to the chief security officer. It has several other functions, so please be careful not to lose it. The wizard standing next to Goro's mouth explained. Oh, Tilda, okay, thank you. Eferen put it in her pocket while Sylvia stared at the crystal for a while first. Maybe it was because the chief security officer was that professor. Melancholically laughing, she noticed someone familiar on the other side of the hallway. She initially thought it was Assistant Professor Allen, but realized otherwise after closer inspection. She resembles him. The woman looked like Allen, but she had a voluptuous chest, unlike the assistant professor. Even with a robe on, they swayed quite noticeably. That was an inconvenience Eferen was familiar with. Her attire always being a bit larger than her actual size wasn't a coincidence. Not only did she do it to avoid others' gazes, but wearing fit clothes also brought her discomfort since they were too tight on her chest. Oh. Do you know about this food called cup noodles? She asked, but Sylvia had already disappeared. It's really hard to get closer to her. She's like a stray cat. Taking a deep breath, Eferen went back to her room. Eucline County, early morning. Keep in mind that today's an important meeting. I will. Lilia Primian, the Deputy Director of Public Safety Bureau, answered the director's crystal ball lazily. Don't say anything that might offend the professor. Be careful with your words. All right. Professor Dikilin is the most influential person on the continent these days. He is by far nothing like the ordinary noblemen you deal with. I know. I'll hang up. No, Deputy Director. If you say something wrong, not only you but the entire Public Safety Bureau click. She hung up. As the director said, today's meeting could prove to be quite difficult. The topic to be discussed was the demon blood repression, and the location was the Rohalak concentration camp. Essentially, it was a meeting called by Dikilin in the guise of a camp audit. She thoroughly hid her demon blood identity, but even so, she still couldn't help but feel nervous every time she met him. Are we almost there? Yes, that's our destination. At the driver's words, Primian looked out of the window. Rohalak concentration camp in the middle of this desolate wasteland, they found an infrastructure still under construction. Staring at it, Primian twisted her lips cynically. We're here. Okay. As soon as she got out of the car, she looked around, searching for Dikilin. He's over there. At that moment, Julie, the White Knight, approached and pointed her to a tall watchtower, on the top of which was Dikilin overlooking the camp. Even in this barren and sweltering space, he was still dressed in a suit. Regardless, he killed 7 people in one night. Primian felt anger boiling within her, but she still approached him calmly. Professor. He lowered his gaze obliquely and nodded as soon as his eyes dawned upon her. You came. Yes, we have one more guest. It seems you didn't invite him. Primian gestured behind her, where a wizard that had just disembarked from a vehicle approached them from. Ah, Professor, the stocky and muscular man smiled brightly as he looked at Dikilin. It's me, Baton. Despite being one of the people that had a dispute against him during the Berkt conference, he gave him the brightest smile today. Baton? Yes, we had a huge misunderstanding last time. I didn't even realize your intentions. Baton looked around the Rohalak concentration camp with a satisfied expression. So I came here to apologize in person. Anyway, this is a really nice place. It's amazing. What the hell was he saying? Glaring at them, she couldn't help but exude hostility. Right, it is a nice place. Dikilin answered softly and came down from the watchtower. He then addressed her. Deputy Director Primian. I heard the Public Safety Bureau conducts camp audits, so what do you think? I didn't waste the center's support, did I? Primian alternated between Dikilin, Baton, and the camp. You don't have to worry about my opinion for a mere concentration camp. Feel free to do what must be done, she said, feeling a piercing pain envelop her heart. Her lips became dry as she thought of her clan dying in this place. Of course. No amount of gratitude or praise is enough for your wonderful idea. Professor, if you need Bayorad's manpower, please let me know. I, Baton, along with my family, will always be by the Eucline's side. Really? Dikilin laughed, remembering how he behaved in Berkt. Well, if there's nothing to be said here, then there's no need to stay here any longer. Let's go to one of Haid Kane's restaurants. All right. Sure. Unlike the energetic Baton, Primian was reluctant. Dikilin led them to Light and Salt, the most famous restaurant in Haid Kane despite the many 3-star restaurants in it. I'm the one who should be treating you, Professor. If you visit Bayorad, I will repay you with dignity. Primian looked at the 2 family heads alternately. Both of them were hell. Thank you for blessing us with your presence, my lord. The restaurant manager handed Dikilin a menu. I'll let you decide. You're my guests. He gladly yielded to his company. Primian was thinking of steak, but Baton chuckled as if he noticed something she missed entirely. Ha ha ha, I see. All right. As expected from you, Professor Primian. Go ahead. Please serve us 3 Roadhaley soups as our appetizer. Primian's fingertips trembled slightly. Roadhaley was a mushroom famous for purifying demonic energy. As a rare, top-quality ingredient, it wasn't only used in recipes, but also as an antidote. She wouldn't die if she ate it, but it would reveal her true identity due to external reactions. After all, the blood of their kind responded to Roadhaley's purification effect. What do you think, Deputy Director Primian? Baton asked slyly. She nodded, her face remaining expressionless. Mushrooms, unfortunately, are one of my strongest dislikes, but since it's rotally, a high-quality fungus, I should be able to eat it. It also benefits one's health, right? Her voice was calm, but her heart was pounding. Right. It's very good. Baton smiled, and Achilline remained silent. Was coming to this restaurant a test? Unwittingly pushing herself to the edge of a cliff, she remained still. She shouldn't display any physical changes. Rotally soup with vasily. Thank you. A waiter served them their appetizers not long after. She hoped he wouldn't return. Baton picked up his spoon as soon as one of the bowls was placed in front of him. Achilline did the same while Primian drank a glass of water first. Observing her, the professor asked, "Do you dislike mushrooms that much?" "Yes. It's due to the trauma I got from eating a poisonous mushroom in the countryside as a kid. I came from an impoverished village, after all." Baton intervened. "It's still rotally, Deputy Director. Given the same weight, it's more expensive than gold. Not only is it good for your health, but it tastes great as well. It might even cure your trauma." "I see." Nodding, she picked up her spoon, submerged it into her soup, and scooped it up slowly, resulting in thick fluid smeared all over it. At that moment, Primian felt time stretch infinitely. Drip, drip, drip. Thick, yellowish liquid droplets fell back onto the bowl. She could hear the aristocrat's noble laughter filling the restaurant. More than that, she could hear her heart beating as she desperately maintained a straight face. As soon as an employee walked near their table, Primian dragged her down with psychokinesis. Ah! Falling, the staff grabbed the tablecloth of their table. Clang! Primian's soup bowl fell to the floor, smashed to pieces. For a moment, the restaurant's attention focused on them. Nevertheless, she swallowed a sigh of relief. "Hey, what are you doing?" Sorry, I'm sorry." She bowed at them multiple times, begging for forgiveness. Achilline put his spoon down and looked at Primian. Catching his gaze, Baton grinned and nodded. "Enough, just bring back another soup." Yes, I apologize, I'll pay for this." "No." The professor raised his hand and stopped her. Baton, misunderstanding his intention, added, "Right, forget the reimbursement, so just bring another soup." "It's okay." "What? Don't do anything useless." Achilline glared at him. If he were being honest, Baton's meddlesome behavior bothered him. "Deputy Director Primian is my guest." "Ah, of course." Baton still seemed suspicious, but he didn't say any more. Primian calmly stroked her chest. The restaurant's noble customers shifted their focus to dining again. Classical music that calmed everyone's mind played in the background as they continued their meals in the establishment's elegant atmosphere. After the appetizer, the main dish was served. Primian sliced the garlic steak, and Achilline and Baton had a luxurious perineum stewed fish. "Oh, by any chance, are you going to the training island soon?" "Yes, as expected. Let's go together. I plan to stay there for a while to not miss the opportunity to see wizards grow." The Bayorad head wagged his tail at the Eucline head nonstop. His body was firm, but his height was like that of a dwarf. Hence, when he conversed with the tall and chiseled professor, he looked like a short Doberman acting cute to a human. Primian chewed on the meat before her as she grew suspicious of Achilline. He was called a magic interpretation genius. Was it even possible for him not to notice her psychokinesis? Lost in thought for quite some time, she grew uncertain if she was eating with her nose or mouth. Regardless, somehow finishing the steak, Primian asked cautiously, "That was an excellent meal. Can I leave my seat for a moment?" "Feel free." When Achilline permitted her, Primian got up, walked blankly to the bathroom, grabbed the sink, and looked in the mirror. "I feel sick," she mumbled. Grasping the condition of her body, she walked over to the toilet and lifted its cover. Immediately after that, she vomited everything she ate, none of them appearing digested, then came back out. "Deputy Director." Achilline was right in front of the bathroom. She felt nauseous again. Indifferently, he asked, "Did you vomit?" "Yes, I think the dinner upset my stomach. Have you finished your meal?" "Baton and I are done, but Julie's still eating." "Right. I'll have to go first then." Primian tried to pass by him, but his next words stopped her. "Today's the first time I heard you hated mushrooms." "Well, we haven't had meals together that many times yet." Achilline's subtle reaction bothered her. She coughed as she turned to him. His stare felt as if it was piercing through her skin. You recall Primian? What? We met in Berkt before and ate at one of the restaurants there. She nodded, recalling that day. What confused her was why he brought it up out of the blue. The menu then was steak with mushrooms, Primian very being stiffened. He stared at her, silence permeating around his cold and emotionless blue eyes. She felt as if a ghost was looking at her. Facing a demon, she thought about both life and death. Her head ached, almost as if her brain was being crushed into pieces and her heart raced uncontrollably. Dequillien's lips twisted into a smile. Shrugging, he corrected himself. I'm kidding. How could I remember something I ate so long ago? His gloved hand tapped her shoulder a couple of times, seemingly to congratulate her. You worked hard today. I apologize for Baton's rudeness. Don't worry about it. Be careful on your way home. Julie, who had finished her meal just in time, came out in a hurry and left the restaurant with Dequillien. Primian stood still for a moment, then walked a few steps down the hallway. However, she soon went back into the bathroom slowly, pretending nothing had happened, after lifting the toilet cover again. Once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, she recalled her life as many times as she vomited until her stomach juices ran out. She headed for the sink again afterward. I'm fine now. With her trembling fingers, she looked in the mirror and straightened her messy necktie, then changed her pale complexion to a healthy one. What did I eat then? Primian couldn't remember it, but there had to be someone who remembered the menu that day. No, it didn't matter anymore. My face is hot. Washing her face with cold water, she soon decided to leave the water running and just slide her face underneath the faucet. Chapter 87. Inside the airship heading to Training Island, Baton muttered bluntly. She didn't eat that soup in the end. Don't be obsessed about it. It's not a foolproof method anyway. Well, that's true. I should have eaten it instead. Maybe then it wouldn't have been spilled on the floor. Such a waste. 40 g of Rotali was enough to render demon bloods unable to breathe properly and their complexion to turn red. However, in the case of mixed blood, the reaction that would occur in their physiques would be subtle. Hence, it couldn't be said to be a very reliable discrimination method. It wasn't possible to randomly use the delicacy Rotali, which was much more expensive than gold and whose demand outweighed supply to distinguish demon bloods. Even if it were, it wouldn't be cost-efficient. Nevertheless, if Primian had eaten it, her face would have turned deep red. Her true race ran deep in her blood, after all, since she was an important name. Is it true that you open their heart to check their origins, Baton? Ah, yes, but that's an inefficient method since I can't confirm anything until I kill them. I need to know if they're demon-blooded while keeping them alive. That way, I'd be able to torture them. I can't just feed those insects with the precious Rotali, though, so I'm focused on developing blood magic these days. Baton smiled, and I averted my gaze from him. His expression was disgusting. The villain's fate. Death variable suppressed. Acquired reward. Store currency +1. I didn't know what kind of action Primian would have taken if Baton's provocation continued, but it didn't matter now. I at least gained another story currency as she exuded for a short moment. I pondered back then if I should tell her that I already knew she was a demon blood, or leave it like this for a little while, considering I would surely need her cooperation someday. It seemed too early, though, so I twisted the course instead. The Rotali soup really was delicious, though, as expected from the mountain's treasure. Bethan licked his lips, recalling the dish. His eyes seemed dazzled, expressing his satisfaction. Your estate is very fertile. You even have enough Rotali here to turn into soup. It was close to an elixir, making it impossible to be put on the same level as ordinary mushrooms. A delicacy that grew only in a demanding environment, yet blessed by nature. After Marek opened, its price showed signs of a sharp increase. Nothing was as good as Rotali in detoxing demonic energy, after all. I don't know if it's because it's a special menu, but, slurp, its flavor is still lingering in my mouth. It'll be difficult to do this during winter because there isn't much supply, but any time in the summer, go ahead and tell them my name. You'll be able to eat your fair share of it. Baton looked moved. Asterisk, by the time I arrived at the training island, it was already morning, and I no longer had the time to fulfill the rest of my previous schedule. Yesterday, I went to the Imperial Palace, Haid Kane, Isle of Wizards' Wealth, then rode an airship to this place. Even though I had Iron Man, I was mentally exhausted. "Oh, you're here." As soon as I disembarked, the chairman greeted me. She seemed to have been walking with her dog on the seashore, our seventh strongest. I grew a little dizzy upon hearing that. "I see you came with Baton." She expressed her surprise upon noticing my company. "Haha, it's always an honor to be with the professor." It was gradually getting uncomfortable to be with Baton. "More importantly, Professor Dechilline, have you heard?" "What?" "One of the overseers died on the way." The way she said such serious news brightly made it seem quite eerie. I shook my head and walked side by side with the chairman. Baton followed us 3 steps behind. "You don't seem shocked." "What's the cause, and who's the culprit?" "I don't know. I haven't done any research yet, but I'll let you know when the results of the investigation come out." Like a woman living in luxury, she had lots of interests and liked gossip. If I waited patiently, she would give me the information I needed on her own. "I see. Where's my accommodation?" My heavy workload prevented me from doing any magic training, which had the utmost importance among my agendas. Nevertheless, I was close to reaching the peak of intermediate psychokinesis. I needed a place to practice alone now more than ever. "Oh, follow me." The circumference of Training Island was 3 square kilometers, which was similar to Uedo or the collective size of 300 soccer fields, and in its vast territory was a total of 5 buildings. The student dormitory, supervisor dormitory, control tower, supply station, and the Eucline auditorium. Among them, I was guided to the control tower, an infrastructure standing tall like a lighthouse at the northeastern tip of this island. "You can stay here." The chairman opened the door, revealing its plain interior, though its decoration was arranged to make it look like a luxury mansion. It at least seemed to have been deep cleaned in advance, since its atmosphere didn't bother me. "And this," the chairman handed me a crystal ball. "The external security team will keep an eye on the exam. If something happens, we'll contact you." She then ran back and pointed at the glass on the right side of the control tower. "This is a magic mirror for the general manager. Do you know how to use it?" I approached and injected a small amount of mana into it, causing its reflection to change. It was like looking down at the Training Island from an artificial satellite. I touched the student dormitory with my finger. In response, it displayed the place. Swiping across its surface, I caused the landscape to move in that direction. It was like a modern road map. "Oh, you're using it quite well. That's the most cutting-edge, state-of-the-art magic technology these days." To me, it was as familiar as breathing. I even missed it a bit. A world in one hand, a smartphone. "So you don't need an explanation. I'm going to go for a walk with Adrian Roman II again." "Okay." Woof, woof. Adrian went on an adventure with Adrian Roman II. Through the magic glass, I looked all over the island. On the sports ground of the dormitory, wizard adventurers played soccer, and in the restaurant, FRN 8 with a certain named. Among them, I found significant figures. As expected, there were many loaches in the first Solda test. After all events on the continent would be heavily interfered with by the altar or the underworld from now on. That's amazing. It seems all magical skills have been gathered on this island, and you noticed such an uncanny fact with but a glance. You're simply impressive. Baton's long praise entered my ears. Baton, he still hadn't left. "Yes, you should go take a rest." "Oh, Tilda, okay, all right, I'll be going then." "Please rest well, Professor." It was fortunate he wasn't completely blind. After Baton left quickly, I went up to the roof of the control tower while looking through the glass. Wheeing, a gust of wind. To my right, I could see cliffs and clouds in the distance, and to my left, an overview of Training Island. The mana that this place's nature contained was 2 to 3 times more pure and abundant than that of the continent. I sat cross-legged on the floor, basking in this wide view, then used vision on myself, understanding status. Beginner/intermediate psychokinesis, 49% progress. Beginner/intermediate fire control, 23% progress. Beginner/intermediate earth control, 18% progress. Metal enhancement, 80% progress. I engraved the psychokinesis magic circle all over my body. As soon as I began this arduous training, the grass, stones, branches, fallen leaves, and sand in my vicinity trembled profusely. Wuong. Resonance and vibration occurred in the hot spring area. The surface shook slightly, and a tornado rose. An instantaneous magnetic field was generated, and the atmosphere twisted like a haze. As I gradually upgraded my psychokinesis to an intermediate level, magic that was too large and complicated was conjured by itself. Caraxel sighed as he spied on Deculine with a telescope a distance away from the control tower. He seemed strong enough. What? Really? Someone answered his complaint. Yeah, I don't know what he's trying to do, but it's like he's trying to rip the ground apart with psychokinesis. I want to see it too. Here. He handed the telescope to his company and shrugged. Caraxel's magical talents were related to equipment. That was why his telescope could see into areas several tens of kilometers away. Psychokinesis? Isn't it earthquake? Yeah. Anyway, attempting to assassinate that professor is absolutely impossible. Failure will only make things worse. Even if we succeed, there still wouldn't be a good outcome for us. I know. I already expected it would turn out in vain. The person with him nodded, their long hair fluttering as Caraxel took back the telescope. While my training was in full swing, I tilted my head at the notification that popped up. The villain's fate, death variable avoided, acquired reward, store currency +1. Huh, there seemed to be someone here trying to target me. It was a little surprising, but it was good that I avoided whatever was about to happen. After accepting it with gratitude, I immersed myself in training again. ***, the next day. As soon as morning came, professors, adventure leaders, advisors, and wizards from and companies arrived one after another on the training island. Their purpose was scouting and networking. All of them gathered in the Ainz Auditorium on the eastern side of the island. As the name suggested, it was built with Ainz donations. Divided into the ground floor and grandstands on the upper floors, about 1,000 test participants were expected to arrive on the ground floor soon, while the official who wanted to scout them stood by on the grandstand. Please take your assigned seat. I sat down in the first-class seat, which offered a clear view of the auditorium through the glass. Professor, good morning. Ha. Baton attended on behalf of the Bayorad family, Millet, the representative wizard from Krumacto. Luina, the representative of McQueen Essasil, the representative of the Brand family, etc. Everyone, please take this acrylic plate. The staff handed me an acrylic plate with the names of the wizards on it. Since Sylvia was at the top of the first page, this list was probably sorted by grade. It wasn't comfortable to see her name. Oh, Deculine, aren't you the 7th strongest? Glython, the representative of Iliade, sitting next to me, I calmly greeted him. Long time no see, Glython. In an instant, the atmosphere around us grew colder. The chairman's antenna seemed to have been activated while she was looking at us, considering she immediately intervened. Glython, I saw you were the 10th strongest. Deculine overtook you by 3 ranks. Haha, that's right. It's a bit sad, but it's only natural. I'm aging, and this man's still growing. Still, shouldn't you compete at least once? Well, that wouldn't be bad either. It seems like they ignore me too much these days since I don't go to the front lines anymore. That's right. The chairman was very excited while stimulating us to fight. Glython smiled. Ha, aren't you too old now to be able to attack the professor? Baton, who seemed to have become my henchman, joined in. Glython looked at him with a slightly puzzled look. What, gosh, have you become friends now? That's right. Why not challenge each other to a magic duel? That would prevent either side from getting too cocky. What nonsense is this? Luina von Schlott McQueen stopped the chairman, who immediately glared at her. What do you think you're doing? I mean, what's the point in encouraging them? Since when did wizards line up only by combat power? If that were the case, only the destruction-type wizards should be considered, right? Glython and Professor Deculine's ranks are even lower than Rose Rio here. Ha. I was just having fun watching this. Why are you getting me involved? Ha. Rose Rio scratched her pink hair and smiled bitterly. A genius in the soft/assistant type, she reached the etheric rank in her mid-20s due to her legendary feat of building a gigantic castle in a single day. That's a shame. I wanted to compete with the seventh strongest man. Who knows? They say an old eagle is better than a young crow, so this old man might win. No, I think I'll win. Glython's words bothered me. Of course, if we actually fought, I would lose. This wasn't the kind of ego that would simply accept these provocations. Glython. I stared at him, unconscious anger flowing from my mouth. Someone could die. That's not bad either. He smiled, the chairman and Baton exclaimed, "Oh my," watching with interest, and Luina sighed. His expression bothered me. It seemed to seriously wish for my death. Enough, Dekilline. Glython, you two. The exam will start soon. Jindalf, the eldest among us, sternly restrained us. Without another word, I watched the wizards gathering in the auditorium outside. The Solda promotion test was a pretty big event. Both wizards and adventurers participated in. No one even knew what kind of unexpected situations would occur throughout its duration, due to the nature of the Isle of Wizards' Wealth, where crimes no longer defined criminals and ex-convicts once they had come as wizards of a magic tower. Everyone, please look at the acrylic plate we gave you. The personal information and specifications of the examinees are recorded there. Feel free to check the most notable ones as well. It's part of the exam, so please do not forget to do so. The wizard continued earnestly, then repeated it a couple more times. I checked Epheren, Sylvia, and some other familiar names. Epheren looked around the auditorium from her seat, finding a lot of attendees. After Solda, she could finally be called a full-fledged wizard. There were also many adventurers here who wanted the Solda ticket, and there were wizards who were already Solda but had retaken it. She heard that if one passed the Solda test with flying colors, it would be easier to advance to the next rank. Nice to meet you all. After waiting for a few moments, a loud and clear voice echoed from above the auditorium. It was Adrian, the chairman of the Imperial University Tower. She was famous for her vast mana and powerful destructive power, yet she smiled like a child. The Solda promotion test will now be starting, but before that, do you see the grandstand over there? Everyone looked up to the floor where many people in luxurious clothes sat behind glass. The one that stood out the most was, of course, Dekilline. A lot of people have come to see you all. Of course, some of you are already part of an adventure team, but it would be better to show good results, right? The chairman raised both hands. It was a hooray pose. They will watch you during this exam. They won't be stalking you the entire exam period, but if you work hard and show good results, they might just prove to be a huge help for the future of your career. After all, the people before you are all one of a kind in the magic world. Knock, knock, knock. The chairman knocked on the desk 3 times. Now then, let's start the Solda test in earnest. No matter how I think about it, 1,000 people are too many. We need to lower that number a bit. Closing her eyes, Mana soon rose from her body, transforming her into a single magical mass. A very quiet mumble, woo-wash. Immediately afterward, her magic engulfed the entire auditorium as a blinding beam of light shot through the roof. Ugh. Everyone, welcome to your first test. Everyone opened their eyes at the words of the chairman. Crap. Epheren cursed involuntarily. She found herself in a forest. Adrian had just used grand magic, mass teleportation. Archmage Damakin was said to have manifested greater magic alone, but Adrian had reached the brink of that state. Where am I? A forest covered in pure white mist. Epheren looked around with narrowed eyes, finding 100 to 200 students just as bewildered as she was. The chairman said 1,000 people were too many, so she divided us by 20% and sent each division to different places. Nice to meet you. A male voice startled Epheren, who soon found a short man buried in the middle of the fog. I am Mimic, a supervisor of the Solda exam. Mimic. It was a strange name. He was dressed in a plain robe and a messenger bag, but he was quite short, perhaps 140 cm. The Solda promotion test evaluates your abilities, qualifications, and aptitude as a wizard. Think of this as a practicum that goes beyond academies and universities. Wow, Tilda. Efren looked in the direction that voice filled with admiration came from, finding a woman whose face was almost entirely covered by her beret and mask. The first test is simple. From his bag, Mimic pulled out a map. It then multiplied into hundreds and flew to the students. You just have to reach the destination of the second test. It doesn't matter what means or method you use. Efren looked at the map, finding several circle marks on it. The problem was she didn't know where she currently was. There isn't only one indicated destination. On the contrary, there are 9 in total. Now please go. After saying that, Mimic disappeared into the fog. Efren? Whoa, gosh, you scared me. She turned to look at Caraxel, who suddenly appeared behind her. Haha, I'm sorry. Shall we go together? Together. Efren looked around again. No matter how hard she searched, she couldn't find Sylvia. Perhaps she had been moved to a different place. Okay. Hey Tilda, if it's okay, can I go with you as well? They soon heard a clear, languid voice. Efren looked at her with slight suspicion. Who are you? Please present yourself. Oh, I'm Maho. It hasn't been long since I learned magic, but luckily I was able to take the promotion test. Where are you from? Why, Urin. No, I'm from the Riak Kingdom, Tilda. Is it Urin or Riak? Riak, Tilda, she smiled. Efren crossed her arms and pondered, but then nodded. Okay. Let's go together. I'm Efren. This is Caraxel. Nice to meet you. Oh yes, Tilda, thank you, Tilda. I'll do my best not to become a burden. The trio formed a team. I watched their footage through the magic glass. Is something wrong? Luina asked. As soon as I left the auditorium, she followed me while drinking coffee. Are you staying long? No, with only this acrylic magic plate, we can consistently receive reports. The representative of the McQueen family, Luina, shook the acrylic plate she held in her right hand. Do you want me to stay here, boss? She then asked mischievously, the corners of her eyes curving like a fox. No. Right, I heard you're also a supervisor? I don't have any missions yet. The supervisor's role had already been discussed in writing, so I'd just have to follow it. Is the security okay? Ah, well, who would even want to mess with the 7th strongest, am I right? I clicked my tongue. 7th strongest. My hands and feet trembled every time I heard it. After finishing her coffee, she looked at her pocket watch and put her cup down. Oh, the airship's about to arrive. Then I'll be going, boss. Tilda, no. I called out to her as she turned around, causing her to look back at me before she could walk away. I changed my mind. What? Stay. What? Luina tilted her head. I repeated myself. Stay. Luina's expression became strangely distorted. Asterisk through the mist, Sylvia rode a horse she created with her 3 primary colors. Pausing for a moment, she looked at the map. It's moving. The circles on the map weren't stationary. Its position was clearly different from the beginning. Why is this happening? Is it an error, a bad quality map, or is the destination itself changing? She only needed 15 seconds to come to a conclusion. The destination is not a building. It's a person. That would explain its movements and the number of destinations there were. They were most likely the supervisors of the second test. Hey. Sylvia gently pulled the reins. If the target was a person, she didn't have to move fast. Moving slowly and figuring out where it was would be far more efficient. Not long after, she found a strange box buried among vines. Sylvia looked at it blankly. Was it part of the test? She thought about it, then got off her horse and reached for it. Stop. A voice then resounded, startling her enough to make her turn around. Who's there? Through the mist, a woman and a man appeared. Hello, Miss Sylvia. I am Rayleigh. This is Desmura. I stopped you because you were about to grab a box-shaped beast called Mimic. Look. Rayleigh manifested a fireball, Kiek. When the spherical flame reached it, the box screamed, stretched its legs out, and ran away. They're clever bastards. Oh, don't be so disappointed. Even if you're a genius, it's still difficult to discern them without experience. Sylvia nodded. If she had stretched out her hand to it, she would have been seriously injured. I know you. Me? How? Red Garnet Adventure Team. Rayleigh seemed moved. Thank you, Tilda. Well, we have become a bit famous these days. He. Why did you come for the solder exam? I'm still a solder. This might sound a bit strange, but the first time I took the test, I failed so much that I couldn't go any higher, so I'm here to take it again. Oh, the guy next to me came for the same reason. This is Desmura, she smiled. then stood by Sylvia's side. "Wow, Tilda, you can make a horse with 3 primary colors. That's really amazing. Anyway, Miss Sylvia?" "Yes. We found some suspicious things on our maps. I think we should compare and contrast at least 3 of them to determine what they mean, so can you show me yours?" "I already compared mine with Desmura," Rayleigh asked, twirling her hair with her finger. The man named Desmura yawned as if he had no interest in the situation. "Sure. Here." Sylvia held out her map. As soon as she did, Desmura, yawning, immediately reached out and grabbed it, then fled with Rayleigh at the speed of light. Sylvia stared blankly at the 2 of their backs, which disappeared into the fog. It was so sudden, no, she couldn't even imagine such an event happening, leaving her unable to react. "Come back." A barely squeaky voice. It just rustled in the mist. Chapter 88. Sylvia held the remaining map fragment in her hand. Staring at the mere corner of it, she closed her eyes. Magic series or attribute? Those things didn't matter now. She remembered the feel of the map she had touched. She recalled its texture, its function. Her 3 primary colors appeared, the map they stole. The object that Sylvia had felt began to regenerate, wobbling from the corner. She never tried it before, but she restored it to perfection. The mended map wasn't any different from the original. Even its red circles were moving the same way they did before. "Rayleigh of the Red Garnet Adventurers," Sylvia muttered coldly, clenching small fists. "Using anger as nourishment, an Iliad grows. An ordeal that can't be killed only makes us stronger." Was this the growth Glython was talking about, Rayleigh? Desmura. She naively believed in their achievements from fairy tales. However, she thought they had better start preparing for the price they'd have to pay for betraying her. Knowing they would surely meet again during this test, she decided never to forget their misdeed. "I won't be fooled anymore." Admitting that she lacked experience and learning from her past stupidity, she gradually integrated the lessons she gained from what just happened into her arsenal. Sylvia looked up at the sky. The sun was already setting. Taking out a mana stone from her pocket, she weaved it into a bat, which then flew, sharing its vision with her. After setting up a patrol around her vicinity, she looked at her map. Why did Rayleigh say 3 maps were necessary? As she pondered about it, the chairman's words from just before the exam came to mind. "No matter how I think about it, 1,000 people are too many." At that moment, Sylvia realized it. They weren't looking for a destination. They were searching for a target. If everyone on this map was a target, then this was easier than she realized. Rayleigh of the Red Garnet Adventurers. Her eyes had already turned cold. ***, walking on the outskirts of Training Island's seashore, Desmura murmured. "Glython is a very strange guy." "Why is he giving us money for bullying his own daughter?" Rayleigh chuckled. As part of the Red Garnet adventure team, they received an unreasonable request from the Iliad family head as soon as they applied for the Solda test. "Don't try to understand wizards. We'll never understand them. We're wizards too. We ran away because we didn't like that society, remember? Well, I think I can at least deduce Glython's intention. Sylvia's young and naive. He probably thinks her being wounded by small bites from us is better than being fatally deceived all at once due to inexperience." Lions raised their cubs harshly. Rayleigh pulled out a total of 4 maps, including Sylvia's. "Now that I've caught them all." As soon as the supervisor gave the instructions, she already knew what he meant. The 9 circles on the map represented targets. However, it wasn't necessary to take all 9 maps. Just overlapping 3 maps was enough to reveal a part of the magic circle hidden inside. With her level of insight, that was enough for her to make an educated guess about the rest of it. "Hey." Woo-woo-woo-woong, a short-range portal in the form of a blue vertical vortex appeared. Done tilde clap. After high-fiving Desmura, she stopped as she tried to go inside, feeling someone approaching them. Huh. To be more precise, she found a group of people wearing robes jumping out of the Training Island sea and advanced into the bushes. "How did they get here?" "Is it the altar?" he asked, to which she replied with a pout. "I don't know." "Well, we should go." "Isn't this the responsibility of the security officer?" "You mean the 7th strongest?" "Yes, Decillines." Laughing, the 2 entered the short-range portal together. ***, a dark night. Rayleigh of the Red Garnet Adventurers, I won't forgive you. I turned off the control tower's glass, the screen of which reflected Sylvia. A large moon appeared on it. I took out my untitled notebook from my inner pocket, illuminating it with the dim light. A journal-like artifact containing Deucalion's memories. There was a part of it that I wasn't aware of. Sylvia and that child's mother, Glython and Deucalion, Eucline and Iliade, as well as Deucalion and his father. However, as Kim Woojin, I was afraid of it. If his memories in the diary and mine were mixed, then I might no longer be Kim Woojin. This is funny. This feeling didn't suit me. This was just a diary. No memory could overcome the strong mental power of my ego. Can you hear me? The moment I was about to explore the diary, the crystal ball in my inner pocket rang. It was Julie's voice. Yeah. Oh, are you okay? Unfortunately, she couldn't get to the Isle of Wizards' Wealth. She once attended my symposium's place of proof, but it had been stricter since then. Yes. Is that so? That's fortunate. Her tone was very serious. I laughed quietly. How do you not get sick of being so worried about me? Now isn't the time to joke like that. That was surprising. What's going on? All of the airships on the floating island have stopped working due to a magical disaster. Airships were the only means of transportation connecting Training Island and the Isle of Wizards' Wealth. However, another flying object has been detected by the radar. It seems that someone's broken into Training Island. Determining this as a state of emergency, I'm going to go over there now. You said the airship stopped working. There is a way. Please wait. The call was cut off. An event was about to unfold. This is trouble. Luina came down from upstairs. Deciding to stay one more day, she held a fountain pen while holding her breath. This is trouble? You mean about the airships? Did you know about that? Her face was strangely distorted. I just got the report. Gosh, the project is in full swing. Why did you tell me to stay, boss? It was because of but the fact that there was one meant that a risk factor existed around me. But I didn't think she would really stay. She was oddly cooperative these days. You don't even talk. Luina pouted and poured a cup of coffee, then handed me a piece of paper filled with complicated formulas. It seemed to be her ongoing project. I'm stuck here, so can you give me a hint at least, boss? A hint. I looked at it with understanding, identifying its magical structure as a remote shield, an invention that would be quite helpful in defending against beasts. It was related to the book Advanced Magic Book, Principles of Protection that I had read before. It's a shield, but its circuit is too inefficient, boss. It takes 10 kg of mana stones a day to maintain it. Nobody would use it. Let me check it. I took Luina's fountain pen with psychokinesis and edited her work as my mind directed me. Scratch, scratch with my brain in a trance, my analytical ability amplified. I swiftly gave her paper all the necessary corrections. I consumed about 2,000 mana on it, but I considered it her reward for staying. Take it. That was too fast, boss. You must have just scribbled random. Her eyes widened as she pouted and read the corrections. Things? My goodness. Luina's reaction was honest. Like a genius, she understood it quickly. I shrugged. I recently read a book that can help you with your project. I'll lend it to you when we return. In return, you can help me with my work here. By work, do you mean security? She asked, keeping her eyes fixed on the corrections. Yes, but would I be helpful? You're the 7th. Don't say strongest in front of me. Why, boss, it's true. Luina raised her head and blinked in confusion, but soon after she let out a small sigh and nodded. Well, they're empty. Such titles. I didn't know why, but her tone seemed melancholic. All right, I'll help you. You shouldn't overwork yourself. Her mood was strange. I turned on the magic glass again without replying. Instead of the distant sky, the scenery of the test site came to the screen. And I identified a suspicious group. Asterisk as night fell and it got colder, Ephraim dug a tunnel. She made supports to secure its interior and covered the entrance with leaves on top, reinforcing her camouflage. She used her experience of when she used to play war games in the countryside, replacing the things she used to make with her hands with magic. This is amazing, Tilda. It's so cozy, Tilda, cozy, Tilda. Mayho applauded and admired her work. What does cozy mean? It's a urine word for cozy. But you said you're from Riak. Eferen asked suspiciously, causing Mayho to flinch. She laughed, then changed the topic. Are we spending the night here? I'm a little sleepy, but we shouldn't sleep until we know what our maps are for. Eferen yawned as she put down her map. This circle keeps moving all the time. It's annoying. Hearing water boiling, she looked over to Caraxel, whom she found cooking. As she licked her lips, Mayho asked her, "But where are you from, Eferen?" "Me, I'm from the Imperial University Tower." "Oh, then you must know Professor Dekulin," Mayho asked, clapping her hands. Eferen replied bluntly. "Oh yeah, I also took classes from him." "Whoa, that's awesome." "Does that mean he's your teacher?" "Teacher, my ass, more like an enemy." "What?" Mayho's eyes widened, and Caraxel, who was making the soup, looked at Eferen with a surprised look. Smiling bitterly, she shrugged. "I'm kidding." As expected, it wasn't something she could openly talk about with anyone. Eferen was still waiting for the day she could exact her revenge. However, it was also true that she had been constantly slapped by reality lately. Dekulin and the Ukline family were just too overwhelming for her will and anger to keep burning before their might. At first, she fought with Sylvia by pulling her hair and even resisted aristocratic professors. But every time she did, she accumulated penalty points, one after another. Moreover, while being bullied and insulted by a group of nobles, Eferen slowly grew numb. Little by little, she was giving up. Was this just proof of becoming an adult? Okay, the soup's ready. Caraxel served them a bowl each. It was made with pumpkin and adventurer spices collected all over Training Island. Eferen and Mayho took a spoonful and ate it. "Whoa, this is delicious." "True, Tilda, very much so. Tilda, how did you make this? We don't have water with us." "It would be easier to understand by thinking of it as my talent." Haha, Caraxel took out an empty cup, and water naturally filled it up from seemingly nowhere. Noticing Eferen's great surprise, he immediately provided an explanation. "It's too complicated to explain in detail, but I call it Mita's hand. It's very practical." "If it's magic, can't you teach me too?" "Unfortunately, it's not the kind that can be taught or learned. This is innate. Ha-ha." He smiled shyly. As she was about to express her disappointment, he immediately silenced all of them. "Shh." He pressed a finger against his lips. Eferen and Mayho continued eating the soup in silence as he focused his senses around their vicinity with his eyes closed. Rustle, rustle, several footsteps were approaching a location near them. No, they were heading exactly towards their hideout. He bit his lip. "We have to go up." "An enemy's incoming." "What? An enemy?" Knowing they would soon be besieged if they remained underground, he hurriedly opened the ceiling and the two ran out with him. When they got up, they found people in black robes. They carried neither wands nor staffs. Rather, they seemed to be dagger-wielding beasts. Eferen immediately warmed up her bracelet. "I'm sorry, this is probably because of me." Caraxel sighed in regret. She looked at him. "You?" Mayho then shook her head, her expression filling up with sorrow. No, it must be because of me." "I shouldn't." "Who are these two?" Even as Eferen frowned, their assailants' murderous aura approached them with every passing moment. "I'll block them." When he stepped forward, a sense of anticipation spread throughout their enemies' bodies. They then radiated clear mana, intertwining it with their vile aura. He bit his lip. "Go, you two." They rushed in before he could even finish. However, a voice echoed the moment they charged in. It sounded so cold it seemed to freeze not only the atmosphere, but also the very people that heard it. "Let me give you a fair warning." Woong! The assassins rose and stopped in midair, disrupting their raid. They soon fell onto the ground brutally. No outsiders are allowed to enter the training island during the Solda promotion test. They stared at the darkness in the direction the voice came from. "Russell, Russell! If you take even a single step or harm the students." Dekulin appeared from beyond the bushes. Woong, 20 wood steels rose, standing by on his flanks. "I will kill you." Listening to his words, they heeded his warning and remained in place. Cold sweat could even be visibly seen trickling down from some of them. Dekulin benefited from his fame that day. The 7th strongest on the continent, an enemy recognized by Rohakan. Recalling those titles, they trembled. It didn't matter if they didn't fear death. If throwing away their lives would prove futile and worthless, they couldn't help but reconsider. It wasn't about survival. It was about cost efficiency. Since they couldn't even touch the tip of Rohacken's hair, there was no point in assuming they could take on Dekilline. Let's go. Come on. Taking advantage of the situation, Caraxel ran away with Epheren and Mayho. Those who had nothing to do but watch the three people disappear quickly ran away to the opposite side, seemingly giving up. They made a remarkable escape, but in Dekilline's perspective, it was futile. He had already commanded several wood steels to pursue them. Meanwhile, in a peaceful forest. Here. Take this, Sylvia, I'll give it to you. Sylvia acquired her third map from one of her targets, then stacked all 3 sheets together. After that, just like Rayleigh, she inferred a magic circle and opened the short-range portal. Woo-woong! A blue passage appeared in the air. Sylvia glanced at the male wizard who had just lost his map to her. He knelt and swallowed hard as he looked at the magic she manifested. She entered the vortex without saying a word. Just 3 seconds later, with a cry, the male wizard also passed through it. That made her realize it wasn't meant for one person only. Nevertheless, she thought there was no need to fight, even though she couldn't help but feel as if she got stabbed in the back again. Phew, phew, phew. Ignoring the wizard struggling on the floor, Sylvia looked around. They were underground. There were a few long church benches on the other side of where she stood. About 20 wizards had already passed the test. Some slept while some ate, but more importantly among them she found those 2, Rayleigh, Desmura. Their gazes meeting startled her, but she soon approached with a bitter smile. Oh, miss, you came after all, huh? Sylvia stared at her silently, gelid flames burning deep within her irises. Rayleigh reached out to her. Hey, Tilda, why are you acting like that, Tilda? I knew you would make it, Tilda. Don't touch me. Ha-ha, ha-ha-ha. Ha-ha-ha-ha. The thing is, we had a reason for. Slightly frightened by Sylvia's pressure that seemed could explode at any moment, she secretly looked for Desmura, but the guy was already gone before she realized it. Rayleigh cursed inside. Is that so-called colleague of mine fucking kidding me? Around 20, Just in time, the examiner showed up. Rayleigh focused her gaze on him, and Sylvia clicked her tongue. Many are yet to come, but let me provide you with information in advance anyway. Everyone, lend me your attention, please. Supervisor Mimic called out to all of them. The second test is Mentor and Mentee. Chapter 89. Sylvia, in her dream, was sleeping in someone's arms. She found his warmth and rigidity perfect as a pillow. Feeling something was a little off, she snuggled even close and buried her face in his chest. She was worried that she might be acting too cute. But as if to say that wasn't the case, he stretched out his hand and wrapped it around her. Her heart grew softer. As they rested on the grassy meadows, flowers bloomed around them, and butterflies and bees fluttered about around them. That beautiful world felt like it was meant to be hers. However, a corner of her heart still ached, her doubt torturing her. Seemingly realizing how she felt, he hugged her tighter and reassured her. Sylvia smiled, allowing herself to be embraced. She was no longer alone. With him by her side, she didn't have to endure her sorrows in solitude anymore. Upon waking up, the ceiling of the dormitory she created immediately entered her sights. Rubbing the corners of her eyes, a drop of tear rolled down. No, her fingers were soaked with more than just a teardrop. Ah. Her dream was as painful as it was delightful, causing the emotions she had been holding back for so long to burst out. I won't let you ruin Sylvia. His words played in her ears again. Sylvia clasped her face. Feeling out of breath due to what seemed to be a panic attack, she tried to gasp for air as she pulled out a reagent bottle from her inner pocket. With her body still trembling, she aggregated the medicines it contained and swallowed them. Gulp. Sigh. The panic that drowned her gradually decreased, allowing her to calm down and breathe regularly again. After that, she dismantled the space she created. Weeing, erasing the 3 primary colors, the scenery around her changed and revealed many people around her. Sylvia. As expected, it was you. Epheren smiled. Caraxel and another woman were with her. She nodded. Stupid Epheren, you made it through somehow. Of course. It's me we're talking about after all. Oh, right, we were attacked too, you know. Some monsters broke in here. She tried to brag, but Sylvia didn't pay her any further attention. Supervisor Mimic soon announced the end of the exam. Now that 72 hours have passed, I declare this exam finished. Everyone, please gather. A total of 113 people passed the first exam. Those who have been eliminated will be tested separately for each category. The examinees sat near him and listened intently. He wrote several names in the air. The second test is mentor and mentee. Think of it as an interview. You can choose one of the supervisors in this list and take the trial they've prepared for you. Jindalf, Rose Rio, Dekilleen, Ihelm, Crancha, etc. There were many famous wizards on the list, including Rose Rio and Jindalf, but Sylvia already had someone else in mind. Please decide within 30 minutes and stand at the doors of your chosen supervisor. The darkness of the long hallway lit up, revealing multiple doors they assumed led to interview rooms. Each of them had a nameplate that had a specific name written on it. Among them, Sylvia approached the door labeled Dekilleen. You're not allowed to be judged by Professor Dekilleen, Debutante Sylvia, and Debutante Eferen. When Mimic stopped her, Sylvia's eyebrows furrowed. Eferen, who was standing behind her, tilted her head. Why? Because you're from the same university as him. That would create the risk of violating equity. With no other choice left, Sylvia chose Rose Rio, a wizard who reached the etheric rank at a young age. On the other hand, Eferen thought a little, then approached the Jindalf door. The exam will start soon, so please be aware that the higher the rank and reputation of the supervisors, the more difficult the interview can be. Sylvia pouted as she glanced at Dekilleen's door, which only had Caraxel and a woman she didn't know lined up in front of. Out of 125, Caraxel and Mayho were the only ones who chose Dekilleen due to his strict and picky personality being quite famous. I'll go ahead then, Mayho. Okay, Tilda. Caraxel smiled broadly and opened the door. Its white, clean interior itself was mediocre, with Dekilleen sitting on the other side. He closed the door and walked over to him. Hello, Professor Dekilleen. Thank you for your help before, he said, expressing his gratitude regarding the most recent incident. Dekilleen didn't answer. Sit down. Okay. He did as instructed, then raised a question before the head professor could even say anything. By any chance, Professor, are you recording this process with a crystal ball? Why does that matter? He answered, lifting the adventurer's report card. Caraxel. 33, 3 children. He insisted. It's important, please. I just write the report. This place isn't being recorded. Is that so? He nodded. Resolutely, he said something Dekilleen couldn't have expected. Professor, I'm a demon blood. Dekilleen's eyes, initially scanning the document, looked at Caraxel. He tilted his head at the sudden declaration. Haha, from the beginning my purpose was to meet you alone. Of course, we met twice the other day, but back then, there were so many eyes around us that I had to wait for another opportunity. Did you know the contents of the exam in advance? Yes. To some extent. Dekilleen listened quietly for a moment. I came to you to negotiate. The terrorist attack at the previous festival wasn't the work of our people. We just want peace. Perhaps thinking the notion was ridiculous, his posture remained stiff, holding the report. It was all the altar's deception. The elder of our clan will also release a statement. If you wish, he is willing to speak directly with the Empire. At that moment, Dekilleen's expression changed. Leaning his body towards Caraxel, he looked into his eyes, causing him to feel pressured. The elder will die the moment he reveals himself. Caraxel's heart stopped for a moment. However, he wasn't lying. The elder shouldn't appear. His death would be triggered the moment he did, and unexpected events would follow through like crazy. No, if he steps on the Empire's territory or makes any appearances, I will kill him myself, he said, releasing a strong warning that he hoped they'd heed for a long time. He leaned against the backrest of his chair again. Your courage is admirable, and the floating island is not bound by any of the continent's laws. Hence, I will bury your remarks here. However, his eyes sharpened, seemingly turning into swords. Overwhelmed by his gaze, Caraxel now learned of his prestige. Don't be deluded. Now is not the time for the demon blood to venture out, even in front of me. Hide before you're annihilated. This is my advice to you. From his perspective, it was a clear negotiation failure, but there was still more to be said. He never expected that proposal to work in the first place. His purpose had always been a little different. Then send me to the Rohalak concentration camp. Finding his new proposition much more bizarre than the first one, Dekilleen put his pen and report down on the desk. I'm more famous by the name of Brolin than by Caraxel. He nodded at the mention of that name. Brolin wasn't an important name, but he was on the SS's most wanted list. You can gain a track record and fame by arresting me, so let me be with my clan in Rohalak. It isn't a bad deal, right? He glared at Caraxel, who didn't avoid it. He decided to test how honest his will was. Do I really need to? I can just catch you now and put you in the gallows. Of course you can. But Professor, do you remember Rockhark, the wizard hunter and the first demon blood Dekilleen ever met? He said you were a real noble. He also said you were the only nobleman that understood the demon blood. Were you lying to him? Dekilleen was the only one who protected them at Berkt, and he did not kill Rockhark despite knowing he was a demon blood. Caraxel believed in Dekilleen as a noble, not a wizard. Hence, he appealed to his aristocratic pride. What are you going to do? All those imprisoned in the camp will have their power cut off. Caraxel's means were right. Breathing a sigh of relief, he continued. I have something special. These are items made with my Mida's hand talent. Pre-made ones will continue to work even if my power output has been cut off. So please allow me to take my personal items with me. I will never use them for terrorism or to escape. He had the same characteristics as Dekilleen. No, Kim Woojin gave Dekilleen the characteristics of Caraxel. He looked at him in silence as his heart raced like crazy. Regardless, he had a bit of confidence in him. Even if he only thought of it as a transaction, the balance of his proposal should be correct. After a while, he replied, I can abolish your group and cut off one of your limbs. I know, and I will gladly accept it. It was a cruel permission. Immediately after, he took out a notebook from his arms and wrote down where and how he would be captured. He put the note between his fingers. If this is a gimmick, I will annihilate your clan without hesitation. Yes. I know you won't betray me, so I'll make sure to keep my end of the bargain. He bowed down so much the top of his head almost touched the ground. He answered, choosing to believe in the very person who declared he would kill their clan's chieftain if he appeared before him. Now go. Thank you. Caraxel got up and left. Dekilleen looked at his broad back as he walked away. Without thinking about the difficult future that would soon come, and instead of fearing the abolition and the pain that would follow, he filled himself with relief that he could be with his clan. What a strange man. No, he was a true leader. Before he could leave, Dekilleen called out to him. Your report says you have 3 children. Is that false personal information? Caraxel paused for a moment, smiled bitterly, and shook his head. I'm not lying, but they'll survive without me. Humph. You're overestimating them. The corners of Dekilleen's lips twisted upwards as he waved his hands. He gave him his blessing. Meanwhile, Sylvia looked at Rose Rio in the interview room, finding her pink hair one of her most amazing features. What do you think when you see this? Rose Rio pointed to the magic circle on the desk. Sylvia reconstructed the magic circle from her perspective, then recited the scenery that came to mind. It's a city. Mountains in the back with rivers flowing inwards. Okay, Tilda, you passed. Sylvia tilted her head like a child. With a grin, Rose Rio explained the reason. You can only pass this rite if you have a clear understanding of magic attributes and series. To an ordinary wizard, it just looks like a set of lines and circles, and those with a little more talent will take about 10 minutes to decipher it. Regardless, you did it in 10 seconds. Damn. Don't look at me with such suspicious eyes. It's actually insanely difficult, you know? Sylvia nodded. Then can I go now? Yeah, I'll see you later. Are you going to go to the floating island? Why don't we hang out a little longer? She left without answering Rose Rio's words. Eferen opened the door with Jindalf's nameplate on it, revealing a long, dark passage. I guess he's been a little serious. Gulp. She swallowed hard and stepped forward. The ground swelled as she swung, but she hastily radiated mana to create a footstool underneath her. At that moment, an arrow whizzed past her, flying towards her head. She defended using barrier. which she manifested almost instantaneously. Wee. When whips lashed out from all sides, she conjured Fire Snake, a harmony between flame and wind. Bending more flexibly than the whips, it devoured them all. Phew, that was great. Ephraim wiped her sweat and praised herself, but she still had a long way to go. Moreover, a mist not only obscured her view, but soon made her feel dizzy as well. Something like cigarette smoke made her head dizzy. Pant, pant. She felt like passing out, but she didn't. The thick, heavy magic in the air seemed to pull at her from all over, but she persevered, moving forward no matter how difficult her surroundings became. She felt like she just walked through a 30-meter-long passage for about 10 minutes. Nevertheless, light soon appeared on the other side. Looking closer, Ephraim found Jindalf standing amid it, looking exactly like the wizards described in fairy tales. He was even fiddling with his long beard. "Ah," she charged at him fearlessly, but he merely looked at her while smiling kindly. "Congratulations. You passed the interview." "What? Is this the end?" "Yes. The passage you crossed is a magic trap I made myself. It grasps your mental power, mana, and magical immediacy. To pass, you must first survive it. Tests and interviews shouldn't be that hard anyway. After all, this is simply for the soldier rank." Ah. She understood right away. Such things mattered only to debutantes and soldas. Having reached the ranks of Etheric and Monarch, people like him would just see their current predicaments as cute. "Let's see, your name." Jindalf fixed his gaze on the papers on the desk, but his eyes soon widened in surprise. Seemingly remembering something, he lifted his head. "Oh my, wait a minute." He looked carefully at Ephraim. Surprised, Ephraim straightened her posture while sitting. She placed her fists on her lap and swallowed hard. What's wrong?" "You, he frowned. "Take off your robe and smile." My robe? Hurry." Ephraim looked at Jindalf out of sheer confusion. Is this old man a pervert? Thinking there had to be another reason, she hesitantly took off her robe first. "Now smile." Quickly. That prompt reminded her of the village chief in her rural hometown. She forced her lips to smile. "Not like a monster?" "What do you mean, ooh-heh?" Her laughter suddenly erupted as he tickled her armpits with magic. Why are you doing this? Seriously, stop. Heh. Observing her bright smile, he sighed and leaned back against the back of his chair. "Oh, why the hell did you do that? Are you going to report me?" Ephraim wrapped her arms around her body. He looked at her sternly and murmured, "In that pendant, you were the assistant's child." "What?" Jindalf remembered the pendant Deculene asked him to restore. The picture it safeguarded had a child in it. He only looked at it for a brief moment, but his memory of it was clear in his mind. "What's your relationship with Deculene?" "What?" His tone was serious, causing Ephraim's bewilderment to grow even deeper. "What's my relationship? Be honest. My eyes cannot be deceived." Monar resided in his eyes. The Harmony series served as a communion between the world and humanity. For Jindalf, who had reached its apex, identifying lies and the truth was as easy as breathing. Looking deep into his eyes, Ephraim answered, "He's my enemy." "Enemy?" "Yes." "Deculene is your enemy." "I won't say more than that." She shut her mouth tightly, and he crossed his arms, not knowing what to do. Wiggling her fingers, she suddenly became angry. "No, why are you doing this? Is this even part of the test?" "That's interesting." "You think of Deculene as your enemy." "What? How is that interesting? If you don't answer me, I might report you. I'm serious." "Report? What are you talking about? You took off my robe and forcibly tickled me. You must give me the reason behind such actions if you don't want me to misunderstand." He stared at her, seemingly finding her words absurd, but then whispered an answer soon enough. "You think of him as your enemy, but he seems to value you more than you think." What? Value? Ephraim grew even more confused. "Deculene values me." She couldn't even find such utter nonsense funny. He wouldn't have asked me to restore a pendant so worn and frayed otherwise. Jindalf recalled the events of that day. "Elder Jindalf." "Deculene, did you just call me?" "Yes. There's something I want to ask you. Can you restore this pendant?" He personally asked me, an enemy of his father, for a favor, despite his pride being as colossal as his father's. Even Jindalf didn't expect it at the time that he would come to him directly. However, he asked him to restore the pendant, and after paying the price, he left. What was his request? "Tell me, please?" Eferen clenched her fists and shouted. Jindalf only looked at her. There wasn't much he could get from this child. No, there was nothing. When he was young, he didn't even pay attention to things that didn't make money, but have I gone senile? I really resent the curiosity and slander that comes with old age. He once asked me to restore a pendant. In it was a younger version of you and, there was a picture of you when you were young. Dekilleen certainly mentioned the man in the photo was his assistant that committed suicide, but he decided not to divulge that part. If it weren't for something very precious, he wouldn't have asked me to restore it. His father hated me very much. Eferen's body stiffened. As if time had stopped, she just looked at Jindalf indefinitely. He's a really weird guy. He carried a pendant with a picture of a certain child whom I thought was just a member of his family. He laughed bitterly. To think it was a photo of his disciple. She was stunned. Aside from her wrinkling expression and her fluttering nostrils, she remained so stiff that she almost seemed to have been paralyzed. His lips twitched as he watched her reaction. Gosh, I'm all old now. To think I would have so much fun seeing a young child's confused face. Ha ha ha. Was this the path of the sage? That's right. That's right, recalling Adrian's chirping voice, Jindalf smiled openly. Chapter 90. Pendant? 2. As Eferen's eyes on him widened, Jindalf chuckled and stroked his beard. Pendant. She didn't know what it meant, but all that mattered was the fact that Dekilleen was carrying her childhood picture and even asked for it to be restored since it had become too worn out. Ha ha ha. I mean, why the hell would he do that? No matter how hard she thought about it, she just couldn't reach a definite answer. Could it be that Jindalf was lying to her? This is fun. If so, then it didn't make any sense. He acted like a pervert just now, but this old man was a powerful, wise, and well-known etheric wizard. Why would such a famous person lie to me like that? What would he gain from it? Amid her wonderment, Eferen recalled the kindness Dekilleen had been showing so far, saving her from disciplinary punishment, permitting them to open a club, judging and treating them fairly, etc. She thought it was just part of the guilt he felt due to her father's death, but her mind quickly plunged into chaos. By pendant, do you? Your interview ends here. As a precaution, don't tell Dekilleen what I said. I don't want to be hated again at this age. Just so we're clear, this is a warning, not a request, okay? Jindalf smiled. Staring at him, she swallowed hard. If you could tell me just one more thing. 10,000 elnis? What? That's how much it had cost you. Dekilleen was willing to pay 50,000 elnis. 50,000 elnis. Is it possible for me to pay 100 elnis? I'm still a student. *** slam. The door to the interview room closed shut in front of her. After being kicked out in the middle of a bargain, Eferen found Carixel walking, who seemed to have just finished Dekilleen's interview. She stared blankly at him for a moment before running to him quickly. Mr. Carixel, Mr. Carixel? Oh yes, why? Did you do well in your interview? What was it like? Ahaha, I don't know. When she tilted her head in confusion, he gave a more concrete answer while scratching his temple. I gave up. Huh. Passing the first exam alone already promotes us to Solda. I don't really need more than that. Oh, that's true. I guess you want to see your children as soon as you can, huh? Eferen thought his original purpose was only to reach the soldier rank from the very beginning anyway. Carixel nodded. Ha ha ha, you're right. I always miss them. Well, let's at least meet again when we return to the continent later. I know of an amazingly delicious restaurant. Do you know what Rohawks are? It was a shame since she planned on seeing the test through the end with them, but she at least made a good friend thanks to this event. Rohawks, okay, that sounds good. You'll like it. Eferen walked down the hallway with him to see him off. In the hall, both the wizards that passed the interview, like Rayleigh and Desmura, and those who didn't were seated, their expressions clearly differentiating them apart. There was also a towering tent in its corner, which she thought probably belonged to Sylvia. Feeling her fatigue caused by the trials she had to face, she grew envious of her 3 primary colors. Eferen. Yes. She directed her gaze at him once more. Clutching the exit's doorknob, he smiled broadly at her. Stay healthy. It was short-lived, but it was fun meeting one of the pillars of the future. Pillar of the future. Rumble and earthquake occurred. Efren looked up at the ceiling in surprise. Boom, boom. Subsequent vibrations followed, causing the tremors to surge. The adventurers remained calm, having accustomed themselves to unexpected situations, but the wizards grew quite agitated. Supervisor Mimic reassured them. At ease, everyone. Everything's all right. Just then, Dekillian came out of his interview room, the examinee's stares immediately falling on him. With only 2 people to test, he had plenty of free time left. Sylvia, having already dismantled her tent, looked at him as he headed for the exit. The same went for Efren, who was looking for a certain pendant on his body. Unfortunately, she couldn't find it or any other visible accessory, but that was within her expectations. Considering his personality, he wouldn't openly display it. Dekillian stopped in front of her, who then looked up at him and swallowed hard. "Step aside," he ordered. "Oh, okay." As she and Caraxel moved out of his way immediately, Mimic spoke to him. "Please figure out what's going on. I'll follow you later." He left without even replying, while Efren could only stare intently at his back as he rushed to the scene. I still haven't been interviewed," Mayho said, her voice filled with sadness and anxiety, then pouted. She seemed to have been looking forward to meeting him. "Oh, wait a minute. It'll be over soon. Everyone, please wait inside." Supervisor Mimic went back to the hall, and Efren shifted her gaze to the open exit. Phew. Taking a deep breath, she sneaked out the door and walked up the stairs to chase after Dekillian, who had just left. Asterisk. I, the security officer of the Solda test, was flying. It wasn't a metaphor. I was literally soaring through the skies. Climbing on a platform attached to 6 pieces of wood steel, I traveled through the air. This new technique was much faster than Iron Man's running speed. Are they the ones from yesterday? I don't know. I can't see anything even with this magic glass. Luina communicated with me through the crystal ball. Damn it, it's too dark. The ones I chased yesterday evening disappeared at some point. I couldn't locate them even with my wood steel's resonance and vibrations. Can you wait a little? I'm going too. I'll be there as soon as I can. While she was making unnecessary remarks, I arrived at the scene, dawning upon me a tragic situation so bizarre it made me speechless. Hanging up, I stood still and looked at the grotesque scenery that formed before my irises. The flowing fluid found its way to where I stood, touching the heel of my shoes. It was thick red blood. A foul, iron-scented smell permeated all over the area, chopped flesh and torn intestines. Brain juices gurgled from a severed skull. I was stunned. Hundreds of torn human fragments had been piled on top of each other, forming a mountain of corpses. Moreover, upon checking their state with psychokinesis, I found many named among them. One of them was Drummond, the acting leader of the altar. He had been brutally mutilated in a way that depicted his fierce resistance before his fall. This is amazing. I had no idea who did this. It took them less than a minute after the earthquake hit. How did they slaughter so many people, no, an entire unit, in under 60 seconds? Some of the victims had been neatly divided, almost as if they measured where to cut, while others looked like they were dismembered at random and without much thought. I didn't know if it was magic or an attribute. All that mattered to me was the thought that they seemed to have cut through space itself. I've seen it before. Skin cut along with space. Recalling a scene that remained vivid in my memory, I finally realized it. This was similar to the mysterious phenomenon that sliced through Veron's wrist before. Russell, I sensed someone moving behind the bushes. You. Turning around to face the intruder, I found Efren, whose cheeks were inflated like a hamster. Asterisk. Efren looked at the mount of corpses behind Dekillian, whose cold yet intense gaze had landed on her. Don't move. Before she could take a hesitant step closer, he had already stopped her. The moonlight streamed down his sharp jawline and nose, a deep yet elegant shadow dividing his face and making him look like a masked ghost. You'll get stained with blood. What? He was more than fearsome enough standing in front of the corpses, but his cold voice today, for some reason, it felt a little different. She stared blankly at him. Debutante Efren, what are you doing here? Go back now. Luina finally arrived on a horse, albeit a bit late. Ephraim staggered back but didn't take her eyes off Deculine. Wheeing. Almost at the same time, the knights dispatched to handle this emergency appeared in the sky of Training Island, each riding a light plane. They came intending to protect the area from intruders, but what is this? When they arrived, they found nothing but hundreds of human fragments scattered across the road. All that was left for them to do was dispose of the bodies. Deculine shrugged. Let me be clear, I didn't do this. What? Oh, okay, they nodded, but no one seemed to believe it. He scanned their faces, but he didn't find Julie, who said she was coming, among their ranks. Julie will be a little late. She got lost on the way. I see. He nodded. She had a bad sense of direction, after all, which served as her penalty trait, ***, amid a wasteland scorched by the blazing sun. Uriel, the Eucline family's vice leader and Deculine's sister, arrived at the Rohalak concentration camp with people from the Imperial Palace. Gosh, its vast expanse made her feel admiration for it. He built it pretty big. As she murmured sarcastically, the eunuch by her side smiled. Yes, that's right. Its capacity is more than 1 million. 1 million, more importantly. When is it going to start imprisoning demon bloods? 1 million. Rohalak could support more than that in terms of area, but the problem was its environment, which prevented supply from being readily available. Even if it only accommodated 100,000 individuals, multiple deaths by starvation would still occur. They couldn't even farm in this wasteland. They have several associations in the shadows, the eunuch replied. Are you going to put their leaders here? No. Such high-ranking beasts would be given the death penalty. Only their subordinates will be kept alive here, including the undeclared ones. Uriel put her hand on her waist out of sheer frustration. I mean, how can we tell if they actually belong to that clan and are just undeclared? What if the records are wrong and we imprison someone who isn't one of them? Ah, that's when Her Majesty will demonstrate her infinite wisdom. She has several relevant documents, and among them is a list of demon bloods the provinces had acquainted. Oh, did you know their birth process is pretty devilish as well? They're born piled up in a red box. Uriel shook her head. This eunuch didn't get her point at all. He answered that the emperor had older records when what she asked was what they would do if the logs were wrong. Anyway, we've also identified the location of the temple where they serve. Are you saying you'll mess with their religion? Religion, hardly. It's heresy. That's why the paladins of the cathedral will be the ones handling this matter. Uriel nodded. From her position, she had no choice anyway. It was the will of the emperor and the imperial family, and Deculine himself stepped up to do this on his own. She only had to think of utilizing that labor force. Whether there were 100,000 or 1 million demon bloods, just letting them starve to death would be a waste for all parties involved. Oh, right. Lord Baton recently praised the ridley soup he ate at Light and Salt. I didn't really like it. Ah, is that so? Well, if you want, I can make a reservation for you. Oh, if so, only us 4, huh? The eunuch's eyes widened, finding a predatory arachnid the size of a finger rustling and approaching them. Although small in size, Rohalak scorpions were famous for their venom that could kill even knights. Be careful, he trembled, and Uriel glanced at him. What are you so scared of? How have you gotten this far while fearing such a small being? Oh, I'm sorry, but that scorpion is... SHH. It'll get scared. If it gets scared, it'll jump. Be quiet. She stretched a finger to it, astonishing him. When it slowly climbed like a gentle sheep onto her thin finger, his surprise grew even more. Isn't that a Rohalak scorpion? That's right. We're at Rohalak, so it's a Rohalak scorpion. Be careful. It has a terrific venom. SHH. Uriel spoke to the scorpion, asking why it moved here. The scorpion replied that there was a village nearby. There seems to be a village nearby. Whoa! As the eunuch admired her ability, she smiled mischievously and stretched out her finger that carried the scorpion. Hey, Tilda, please stoop. Having had enough fun, Uriel, still chuckling, talked to her little friend again. You shouldn't stay here. Find a safer place with your friends and family. Your talent remains very strange, Uriel, even though this isn't my first time witnessing it. As soon as she saw the newly arrived eunuch, she frowned. "It's nice to see you again. It's been 7 years, hasn't it? You've grown up a lot." Jalang, he was with an escort knight. HMPH. A eunuch accompanied by an escort. So there are knights in the imperial palace that serve eunuchs instead of Her Majesty now. There is no such distinction. We are all working for Her Majesty. In response to his reply, she disdainfully laughed. "Coming directly to us despite how fastidious you are, you're nervous, aren't you? Is it because of the rumor about Her Majesty holding the head professor dearly?" The power structure of an empire usually depended on the character and legitimacy of its emperor. Krebaim, the previous emperor, pursued harmony between the religious and imperial powers, while a third power, known as the eunuchs, lurked behind them all. They clung to both the religious and imperial factions like bats, devouring both sides. Of course not. We are but a shadow of Her Majesty. Since Krebaim had immense legitimacy, the eunuchs couldn't go wild under his rule. The same couldn't be said for Emperor Sophian's reign, however, since she had already had a bad reputation before she ascended to the throne and was infamous for her indolence and boredom. The eunuchs grew confident that they could gain more power than their predecessors, but their expectations couldn't be any farther from what actually happened. Sophian, despite her laziness, pushed her policy with tremendous intensity, and in the process, the person who gained the most trust was Deculine, not an official or a eunuch. "I just came to deliver information to you." "Information?" "Yes. Count Eucline has passed on his rule over your family's territory, hasn't he?" Jalang brought up the conclusion he inferred from the Eucline siblings' relationship and their estate's development. Uriel answered calmly, "His rule? I'm just the Lord's representative." "Sure, even so, Uriel." His voice turned into a whisper. "It would be better not to trust the Count." PFFFT. He spoke as if he knew something she didn't, but she only smirked, disallowing herself from falling for their kind's manipulative tricks. "Aren't you curious about what Count Eucline really thinks of you?" Regardless, he persisted, causing her expression to harden. "What does he really think of me?" She pretended not to care, but that question had always lurked in the corner of her heart. "I'll bring you evidence soon." Jalang lowered his head and smiled as she stared at him with narrowed eyes. "If you're done talking, just eat some roteli soup and piss off." Turning around, she got into her car, deciding not to give him any more time of her day. Still smiling and staring at her back, he asked the knight beside him, Rujin, "Where's that item that Zukaken promised?" "It's already ready." "What about its content?" "It's a recording of Count Eucline mentioning information regarding Uriel in the past. It seems Deculine didn't manage his personnel properly when he turned his back to the underworld. It caused no fatal damage, but one of his men got caught, resulting in the obtainment of said item." Jalang nodded. "Bring it to me as soon as possible. I don't care about its price." The prestigious Eucline family, which allowed Uriel's practical ability and Deculine's external reputation to harmonize, had always been a thorn in his existence. Having entered the worst situation possible for their faction, where even the emperor favored Deculine, Jalang found no other solution but to create a rift between the siblings. Recently, he finally found a way to do just that. "I wonder how long will that young lady be able to keep acting so rudely against me?" He left out a fox-like chuckle as he watched Uriel's vehicle disappear in the distance. Asterisk. The 4-day Solda promotion test reached a successful finish. The Alter forces invaded in the middle of it, but due to Professor Deculine's devious and brutal retaliation, which he denied was his doing, the event managed to end peacefully. After Sylvia, Rayleigh, Desmura, Mayho, Epheren, and 40 others passed the third and final test, they returned to the Eucline Auditorium and attended the Solda Badge Award ceremony. "Solda Epheren, congratulations on your promotion." Chairman Adrian handed over the Solda certificate and badge. "Yep, Tier 3 Solda badge," Epheren proudly took it. With this, it would be easier for her to climb up to Kendall and Rogello, the 2 ranks above Solda. "Solda Sylvia, congratulations on your promotion." "Yes." The 2 came down and returned to their seats with their badge, certificate, and robe in their arms. "Thank you." Eferen tilde I pass thanks to the rohawk meat you gave me back then tilde Mayho, sitting next to her, smiled. She laughed softly. Don't worry about it. It was delicious, wasn't it? Yeah, it was very tasty. Haha. When you come to the Empire later, let's eat it together again tilde you can treat me then. While they chatted, she found Deculine sitting in the VIP seat above the auditorium. Jindalf and Rose Rio were next to him. At that moment, Jindalf, giving her a knowing glance, spoke to Deculine. Frowning, he soon took out a necklace from his briefcase. Oh, right before her eyes was the pendant the old wizard was talking about. For a moment, Eferen held her breath. Asterisk. What went wrong with it? I took the pendant out of my briefcase and showed it to Jindalf after he said he might have made a little error in its restoration and wanted to take a look at it to confirm. After looking at it for a while, he shook his head. I must have been mistaken. It's done perfectly. I really should stop doubting myself. He then laughed heartily. I stored it back in my briefcase, finding his reaction bothersome. By the way, Professor Deculine, if I were to ask who the child in the photo is, would you tell me? He asked. What are you talking about, old man? Let me in on it too? Unable to contain her curiosity, Rose Rio intervened. Jindalf frowned and pushed her away. Hey, kids aren't supposed to eavesdrop when adults are talking. Gosh, that's so rude. Paying no attention to them, I focused on the event apathetically. However, I couldn't help but notice his gaze alternating between a certain wizard sitting in the auditorium and me. After a while, he chuckled. Ha ha ha. This is fun, isn't it, Deculine? Another semester is about to start, so don't hesitate to ask any requests you have for me. I'll do one for free. I found his laugh annoying. I didn't know why, but it gave me a similar feeling to whenever I spoke with the chairman. Solder Rayleigh, congratulations on your promotion. The awards ceremony was slowly drawing to a close. The ones who attended this event were Mayho, Eferen, Sylvia, and she wasn't currently here, but I was convinced now. Veron's case from a long time ago, the massacre that took place 2 days ago, it was all Alan's doing, it had to be. Good work, everyone. You did an amazing job, tilde. Everyone applauded simultaneously after the chairman's exclamation, including me. At that moment, however, I sensed an extremely dark gaze staring right at me. Annoyed, I turned around. Eferen. She turned away in surprise, but she had her hands clenched into fists, which I found strange. I shook my head. She was probably up to something impudent now that she was a solda.